Express has moved. You'll now find us beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny. We're still your go-to spot for custom t-shirts, workwear, gifts and balloons. Just in a fresh new location. You can still reach us on the same number, 086 343 3504. T-Shirt Express, now beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny.
It's extremely big, it's extremely scary, and it's extremely good fun. Extreme Fun Fair, the most extreme fun fair to ever visit Letterkenny. From June the 28th to July the 13th at the Kiltoy Roundabout. See Facebook, Instagram or book now at extremefunfair.ie.
The Naughty Alarm Clock.
The Naughty Alarm Clock.
Highland Radio.
Have yourself a great Monday. It's over to Gregory Hughes. You're going to have a busy show today. It's going to be packed as always, I bet you.
Yeah, it's always busy, isn't
I
it?
sure know the
Lots
crack.
of sport to get through as well. Hopefully, we normally get the winning team up from the Donegal Rally. So
Just
we'll
depends if the party's over.
It normally is, so that should be coming up. A lot to reflect on football, and then there's all the news goods. You know, where else would you get it?
Sure, you're only on your show.
Get out of town.
All right, good luck.
Slán. Okay, yes, it is the 9 till noon show at 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update and cross over now to Katie. Good morning, Katie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The High Court in Belfast will later decide on the future of the A5. Since the project was first proposed in 2007, 57 people have died along the road, which links Donegal and Monaghan through Tyrone and Derry. Stormont ministers gave the £1.2 billion project, which is set to receive €600 million in backing from the Irish government, the green light in October last year. Landowners along the route have been fighting the case and began judicial review proceedings against the dual carriageway. The case was heard over several days earlier this year, and the judgment will be delivered today. The public inquiry into the Omagh bombing is to hear opening statements this morning. It's investigating whether the 1998 real IRA bombing in the County Tyrone town could have been prevented. 29 people died, including the mother of unborn twins. Police say they are concerned about the welfare of a man missing from the Castledurg area. Aaron Lynch was last seen at approximately 1:15 this morning in the Ahi Aaron area. He was last seen wearing a red coat, a white t-shirt and grey shorts. Anyone who sees a person matching this description or knows of Aaron's whereabouts is asked to contact police on 101. The average house price in Donegal is now €243,000 according to the latest Daft.ie report. The figure represents a 63% increase compared to the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, as shown by the second quarter's data for this year. Furthermore, prices rose by 8% in the second quarter of 2025 compared to the same period last year. Nationally, housing prices rose by an average of 3% during Q2, with the typical listed price being nearly €358,000. Author of the report, economist Ronan Lyon, says there are some variances across the country.
For example, Dublin has an inflation rate of 12%, but Cork, the inflation rate is slower. It's only 8%. Say only 8%, but still 8% is a very big increase in a 12-month period. Galway and Limerick cities are seeing inflation more or less in line with the national average, and with Dublin between 12 and 13%.
A Donegal deputy has called on the Housing Minister to call the housing and homelessness crisis a national emergency. Speaking in the Dáil last week, Deputy Charles Ward urged the Minister for Housing, James Brown, to issue a COVID-19 level response to the crisis. The 100% Redress Party TD said that the number of people experiencing homelessness in Ireland has increased by 80% in just 3 years, and according to Census 2022, the largest age group among the homeless population was 0 to 4-year-olds, accounting for 11.4% of the total homeless population. Deputy Ward says these numbers will only continue to rise as many families impacted by the defective concrete crisis face potential homelessness.
Many families have been impacted due to the defective concrete crisis. It's clear that these figures, the government is failing. The only time in the last decade that we've seen a drop in the monthly homelessness figures was during the COVID lockdown measures. The government needs to change tack and take action. We need an emergency COVID level response.
And now for the weather. Apart from a few isolated showers this morning, it will be dry for most of today with variable cloud and some sunny spells. Rain and drizzle will spread from the west towards nightfall. Highest temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with another update and the obituary notices at 10 o'clock.
They told me I only had 20 seconds to tell you about the new 20 hot wings bucket for $11.95 at KFC. It's 20 hot wings for $11.95. It speaks for itself. That's it. That's the ad. The 20 Hot Wings Bucket, only at KFC. Available until July 20th, 2025, subject to availability. Participating restaurants only, excludes delivery. See website for full T's and C's.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, and a very good morning to you. It's the start of another week on the 9 till Noon Show. It's approaching 5 minutes past 9 on this Monday, the 23rd of June. How was your weekend? Did you have a nice weekend? My word, it was a busy one between the rally, which seems to have been a huge success. Of course, Donegal, another success yesterday in McCool Park, and we know now we're playing Monaghan next Saturday or Sunday at a date, at a time to be confirmed. All games, obviously, I think at HQ, aren't they? We'll get any information on that as it comes into you. So Brendan Devaney is going to join us a little later on to reflect on the GEA action. We're going to have a sporty feel to the last hour because hopefully we'll get a chance to chat to the winning crew of the Donegal International Rally. And of course, it's been a very busy weekend, not just locally, but right across the world. So we'll keep you up to date on all of that. If there's anything you want to talk about or something that's been playing on your mind over the weekend that you think, you know what, I'm going to get this off my chest. I want to see what other people think. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000. If you prefer, you can give us a call on 07491 25,000. And emails, they're always there for you. Comments at highlandradio.com. And just to remind you, and sorry to repeat myself, but you can watch the programme if it suits you. Maybe you're working at home, working in the home, or just at home. You can watch us on your smart TV or your Fire Stick. We're on the YouTube app, Highland Radio Ireland. We're on the X platform as well, at Highland Radio, and across our Facebook pages. So there's no excuse not to get involved. And of course, maybe you've got someone in your life who's a little hard of hearing, or maybe they've acquired a little bit of hearing loss and they're struggling to keep up to date with what's happening in their region. Maybe they're getting a little bit frustrated on it, on Facebook and I believe on YouTube as well. You can get subtitles as well. Look, they're not perfect, but they certainly are pretty good. And it means that just because you can't necessarily hear as well as you once did, it doesn't mean that you can't keep up to date with everything that's happening. The Donegal News, every parent's worst nightmare. A local councillor has said the community will rally together in the wake of a collision in Ramelton on Friday, in which a young boy remains in hospital after being struck by a car. Gardaí and emergency services rushed to the scene of the collision, which took place on Chapel Road in the town on Friday evening. A Garda spokesperson confirmed that the pedestrian, a male juvenile child, was taken from the scene to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment. The road was closed and local diversions were put in place following the collision. I understand that the young person was since moved to another hospital to continue his treatment, and maybe you have faith. If you do, I think the family and the young boy would very much appreciate any positive thoughts and prayers you might have in their direction, and we're certainly thinking on them here. The Derry News, Derry and Strabane councillors are being urged to do the right thing and include a 10% cap on houses in multiple occupations in their local development plan. Councillors are due to vote on the draft LDP, the local development plan, which has set the HMO cap at 30% at June's full council meeting on Wednesday. Speaking to the Derry News, Mary Gallagher, who lives in Nicholson Terrace in the city and is a member of the campaign group Concerned Residents around McGee, said if the councillors vote in the LDP at 30%, they're going to cause irreparable damage to parts of the city. On to the nationals. The Irish Daily Mail. World is braced for Iran terror backlash. Donald Trump made the decision. And it was kind of a unilateral decision too, because it wasn't sort of discussed or approved by the usual, democratic systems that you can employ, run it through Congress, whatever it might be. He made a decision to do what he said he wouldn't do and involve America in a war. And it is a war that could be a very messy war for America, or all of us for that matter. We really don't know how this is going to go. But he's inserted himself in a situation now, and organizations supported by Iran, shall we say it like that, are all over the place, and it's very possible that you could start seeing now terrorist strikes within the United States. Bases the United States has in the Middle East could be targeted. I note Iran's meeting with Russia today, and Iran and Russia are pretty close. Whether or not the Kremlin would come in behind Iran in any sort of a war remains to be seen. They're very busy, of course, in Ukraine at the moment. China, a big supporter of Iran, but also China has a very strong business relationship with the United States. So those factors hopefully will deter this turning into a sort of a global type conflict. But certainly in the Middle East, there's a lot to play out. Let's put it like that. 93 million people live in Iran. They have resources. They don't have fantastic air defense systems or fighter jets, to conduct things in the air. But that's not how wars are fought nowadays. They're fought with rockets and drones, and it could get very, very messy for the United States and everybody else. But Donald Trump, he is, and I suppose some people admire him that he makes sort of unilateral decisions and puts America first in terms of tariffs and maybe secures better deals and uses his business acumen as a benefit in that regard. This is a very different type of area he's operating in now, because this is a global situation. He's messing with countries that don't just back down, that have very powerful friends. So he's done exactly what he said he wouldn't do. He's dragged America into what could be a really long and messy war. I'll read what the Irish Daily Mail says. Iran's nuclear ambitions have been totally obliterated by the surprise US strikes, Donald Trump said last night. The American president said the attack by a squadron of stealth bombers late on Saturday night had taken the bomb right out of Tehran's hands. Now, conversely, and you don't see this really reported in Irish media anyway, because I was watching and I don't often, but I watched the RTE News last night to see if they referenced it. But very high-ranking Russian officials have poo-pooed what he said. They said, look, there's countries queuing up to give Iran nuclear warheads now to stick on the ends of their rockets. That the source material, uranium, isn't it? They'd already removed that from where these sites that were bombed. They knew it was coming. They're not Egypt, are they? So while Donald Trump is saying that he's removed their ability to create a bomb, you've got very high-ranking Russians, in fact, a former Russian president, saying that's nonsense. So they cleared everything they needed to make bombs out of these sites because they knew exactly what the Americans were going to do. But unfortunately, that side of things doesn't get reported. And it does make you wonder, if you only consumed RTE News, you would think that what Donald Trump did is that he went in and he bombed Iran and now they can't make a nuke, which is nonsense. And if you listen to the Iranians or if you listen to the Russians, they quite clearly point out that we knew this was coming. We're not silly. We moved the uranium out. We've still got our resources. You don't know where everything is. But you don't get that side of it in sort of the Western media, which I think is really quite regrettable, because I think conversations then in the front room, if you don't sort of source that information yourself or in the kitchen, would be, look at, I'm not a big fan of Trump, but at least now Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Well, that's not how it is at all. That's one side of the story. But we tend to only get one side of the story. So that's why it's important, I think, that we all source our news from different sources. It doesn't mean not watch one type of news or listen to one type of news, but get the full picture. And there is certainly a different narrative out there as to Iran's position in terms of its ability to make nuclear weapons. But reading on here, there are fears that the US's allies could face a terror backlash from the regime's supporters. 7 B-2 stealth bombers swept into Iranian airspace undetected, dropping 14 bunker-buster bombs on nuclear facilities as the US joined Israel in the biggest Western military action against the Islamic Republic since its 1979 revolution. Experts warned of a new era of terrorism, and US Vice President J.D. Vance said the FBI and law enforcement were on alert for threats on American soil. And it's kind of interesting because whilst the Iranians didn't see these planes coming, they flew really just over in Donegal airspace about 3 days ago. If you were watching the Flight Radar app, and a friend of mine on Facebook sent me the images, and then I was able to track them myself, you could see the US military planes quite literally flying across the Atlantic over Donegal and onto the Middle East. So if you have any views in relation to that, maybe you support what the Americans have done, maybe you think it's better for all of us, and you might go, well, why are you talking about that? Well, your petrol and diesel at the moment is at a certain price. Iran has the power to cut off supplies, which means that we could be heading towards 2 litre a gallon of petrol or diesel, a litre of petrol or diesel again. You just don't know where it's going to go. So all of these stories, whilst they might seem terribly far away, affect us directly. And we're all humans as well. On to the Irish Times now. And Gardaí investigating the murder of Kerry farmer Mike Gain travelled to the United States over the weekend to speak to the former partner of a man arrested about the killing. Investigators visited Waldo County in the northeastern state of Maine, where Michael Kelly, the man detained and questioned last month over Mr. Gain's murder, lived before he moved to Ireland. Now, this is one of those strange cases where the suspect themselves has identified themselves as the suspect, so his name is in play. So ordinarily, in a case like this, there would be no reference to a person who might have been arrested in connection to a crime, but he has already declared that he is the person of interest. He's spoken publicly, and it means the reporting reins are off, so to speak. Mr. Kelly's former partner, Alicia Snow, said she met investigators on Saturday and that they were looking for any clues to explain what might have happened to Mr. Gain. A Garda source confirmed a detective had travelled to the US as part of the investigation to seek a statement from Ms. Snow. We've been talking about this for a long time. This is the system whereby you can sort of drive perpetually on an L plate if you book a test, even if you don't actually attend the test. Well, the government will take measures to prevent drivers from rolling over their learner permits without sitting a driving test. Transport Minister Darragh O'Brien will soon bring a memo to Cabinet on the action plan for the road safety strategy. The draft memo, seen by the Star, stated the strategy had the target of reducing road deaths and serious injuries by 50% by 2030. It also aims to achieve Vision Zero, or as close as possible to no deaths or serious injuries on Irish roads by 2050, which I believe will only be anyway achievable if you have cars that, like you're seeing now in the United States, that have some level of driving autonomy. Well, the plan to be brought to Cabinet by Mr. O'Brien is phase 2 of the strategy. The draft report is divided into 7 priority intervention areas. These include measures to improve driver behaviour, to increase the safety of all road users. One action in the report involves plans to end the practice whereby learner drivers can roll over learner permits without the requirement to sit a test. Though I think the more serious conversation we're having on that now means that even those that sort of have had learner permits for years and years are probably starting to sort of say, right, I need to sit a test now. The Sun this morning, the Children's Minister has been asked to appear before the Seanad over the disappearance and murder of Kyran Dernan. Norma Foley is being requested to give an update on the Tusla review into the case, none of which has been made public so far. The request was made by Drogheda Senator Alison Comyn, almost 3 years to the day since the boy was last publicly seen alive at a school in Dundalk. Despite a series of searches of various houses in County Louth so far, no body has been found, and although 2 people were arrested over the murder, no one has ever been charged, which is really quite remarkable. TUSA, the Child and Family Protection Agency, must carry out a review anytime a child on its books or in its care dies to see what lessons can be learned. And finally, house price inflation has hit a 10-year high, according to a property website. Prices rose by an average of 3% across Ireland during the second quarter of 2025, Daft.ie's house price report said. Now, Daft's report is always about asking prices. And you'll hear various stories in relation to that. Some say, well, asking prices are being achieved and achieved beyond what they were set. And others will suggest that some people are testing the market and aren't actually achieving their asking price. Well, the typical listed price nationwide in the second quarter of the year was €357,000. That's over 12% higher than a year previous. €243,000, the average selling price here in Dublin, or asking price, should I say. That's up 63% since the beginning of COVID. Really quite remarkable, isn't it? Right, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000 if you've anything to remark on what's been making the headlines today.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Will you have a pint, Gareth?
Sure, I can always take the quiet road home. Drink driving kills. Don't let your friends drink and drive. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Make real summer savings at Super Value. Like Super Value Signature Taste Fresh Irish Hampshire Pork Loin, now half price. Fresh fruit and veg like lemon and lime net, 3-piece, 79 cents each. Scan your Real Rewards card or app and get Coca Noodles 10-pack for €5. Also, Pampers and very selected ranges, 3 for €30. Make real summer savings at Super Value.
To childproof your home, get down on your hands and knees to see what your toddler sees. Go from room to room and look for dangers. Do the same outside. Visit mychild.ie for advice on pregnancy, baby and toddler health.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out shaneconleycars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
If you're fitting a new kitchen or replacing some tired appliances, now's the time with the Ben Sweeney Euronics Kitchen Bundle. Get a single oven and hob, integrated dishwasher and fridge freezer, wash machine and tumble dryer, all for just €2,000. Other kitchen bundles are available on request. Call us today or visit Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress, comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Restex Beds, leave the rest to us.
Donegal Vintage Club will hold a tractor, vintage and car classic run this Sunday 29th in Ramelton. €20 per tractor or car, with registration at 12 noon at the quay, followed by refreshments and live music with Paul McCahill. Proceeds in aid of Care of the Aged, the RNLI and local charities. This ad is sponsored by Wirrasky's Eurospar and Ice Cream Parlour Ramelton.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Okay, the time now, 21 minutes past 9. Let's go to the former mayor of Donegal, former councillor, of course, as well, Brendan Byrne. Brendan, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning.
I suppose we've all taken an interest in the events in the Middle East, what's happening with Israel, Gaza, and Iran, and now we've seen this escalation, and we've seen the United States inserting itself very firmly into what's going on over there. What's your reflections been?
Well, I was somewhat shocked, particularly as President Trump said that he would not draw the United States into any global conflict or war, which he now effectively has by bombing Iran at the behest, I would think, of Israel. And I think if we look at the entire situation in the Middle East, where Israel have annihilated Gaza and have forced a famine on 2.1 million people, as well as all the destruction and murder, it's an effective genocide they have inflicted on Gaza. And now they have escalated it to Iran, which has been a long-held ambition of Bibi Netanyahu to destroy any nuclear capability of Iran. Meanwhile, because they saw an opportunity with Trump being in the White House, they have drawn the United States into the very center of this by bombing the nuclear facilities over the weekend. And the United States hadn't resorted to Congress, nor has it brought in its allies. So you have a very precarious situation now that will, by extension, affect most of the Western world unless it's de-escalated.
What do you think, how was Israel, let me put it to you like this, how was Israel effectively able to convince Donald Trump, who would have to obviously go against the commitment he made, and he himself criticised Obama for even threatening any action against Iran a few years ago. How would Israel have managed to convince him, do you believe, to drag the United States into this? Because even if there isn't necessarily an escalation in the Middle East, say there is a de-escalation, there's no doubt we're going to start seeing stuff happening now on American soil, because the reach of Iran through proxies is very, very deep, and they knew what was coming. They've been establishing networks for years.
There's no doubt that Iran have seen this coming, that there would be an eventuality where Israel would get their way with the United States. I think the first thing when you're talking about Israel and the United States is that the lobby fraternity belonging to Israel is very, very strong in America, always has been, disproportionately so for the size of their country. And not alone that, I think there is a close relationship between Bibi Netanyahu and Trump. And I guess Netanyahu knows how to play the ego of Trump, because that's what it's all about. It's ego. And he's a president of extremely limited ability, no political sense to be fair. And the irony of all this is the 2015 Comprehensive Action Plan on Nuclear was one which Trump himself in his first term withdrew from, and had the America stayed in that, which was a comprehensive plan set up by Obama, then Iran were at the table, as were all the countries in the Middle East, and it would have resolved that. So he unilaterally withdrew America from that in 2017, I think, and that's now where we are with the consequences of his earlier decision. So the entire thing is riddled with contradictions. But where we are today, and we heard last night that Iran is contemplating closing the Straits of Hormuz. If that does happen, even though they only control half the Strait of Hormuz, you will see pressure on global oil prices, which will trickle down to just about everything that we buy as a commodity in Ireland and any other country in Western Europe.
Then you've got the United States imploring China to try and convince Iran not to do that, which is really quite bizarre. The one thing I've noticed is we're hearing very much what Donald Trump is saying about this situation in terms of the level of success, the bullseye, this notion that Iran were 2 weeks away from making a nuclear weapon, and that ability now has been taken from them, which seems a bit nonsensical, to be honest with you. If you listen to the Iranians and Russia, they knew this were coming. The raw materials were moved off-site. They have access to nuclear warheads from other countries, etc., etc. So the thing I find a little bit peculiar is, and I can't find any coverage today, and I haven't unless I've missed it, we're only hearing the fact that Donald Trump had a huge success, which is there's a very different narrative running from the other side, so to speak.
Yeah, and this idea of 2 weeks away from having a nuclear capacity, that's been said in 1996 in Congress. It was said in 2008. It was said all through the 2016, 2017. They're 2 weeks away from it. No one has a clue whether they're 2 weeks or 2 years away from it. It reminds me very much of what the US and the United Kingdom did with Iraq. They went in after weapons of mass destruction only to find there were none. So look, there is a lot of spin here, but the reality is, and you're 100% right, Greg, Iran knew this was coming. I think there's many rabbit holes in the state of Iran. I'm not quite sure that they've got what they think they have got in terms of wiping out the nuclear capacity. But even if there were, Iran is a capable nation. They're going to rebuild. So this idea that you can bomb a country into submission to stop something is nonsensical. Those days are gone. The reality is, whatever nuclear agreement needs to be made to stabilize the Middle East has to be done by negotiating. And Trump always credits himself to be a great negotiator, but he's fearful of negotiating because he hasn't the capacity or the ability to negotiate. And like every schoolyard bully, he resorts to violence. And on this occasion, he authorized the bombing of a sovereign state, which is Iraq. You may not agree with Iran. You may not agree with Iran. You may not agree with their policies. But that does not give you the authority to bomb a sovereign state like what you've seen with America and Israel.
And just finally, in terms of business, the rule book whereby it slaps massive tariffs, it gets people to the table, and something works in between. You can't use that playbook in terms of sort of the whole global political structures. Russia, China, they want a presence and a country in the Middle East, so to speak. There's so much going on here. He's used the tariffs playbook in something that is so much greater than what tax is on a product coming in from China or Europe. And that's that I don't think how anyone can look on and say, right, that's good leadership. It kind of, shooting from the hip on tariffs is very different to what he's done here.
Absolutely, you're 100% right. And it proves the point. He's a very unstable leader of the free world. And we're only 5 months into his tenure as president. We're going into the 6 months. And it's very worrying that we're going to have 4.5 more years of this unstable approach of a leader of the United States. That, I might say, the Congress and the Senate are not willing to play their part and call him into heel. And I think we're in a very bad situation, and it's potentially going to get a lot worse unless the other arms of government in the United States start exerting their authority.
All right, thanks very much for that, Brendan Byrne, former mayor. Appreciate that. Liam White, good morning to you. What's your view on it all?
Well, I would agree with a lot what Brendan would have said. Good morning, folks. I would be particularly disappointed in Ireland and the EU's statements yesterday. Now, Iran was in negotiations about their uranium enrichment for the past 2 months with the US when Israel started to bomb. They met with EU counterparts and UK counterparts last week, and after the US bombs it on Saturday, they come out with these ridiculous statements saying, you know what I mean, more or less blaming Iran, saying that they need to come back to this. Now, I think it's a crucial mistake from Iran not to develop a nuclear weapon long before this, because we can see with North Korea, who done it decades ago, and they'll never be touched because they have nuclear arms to defend themselves. Now, going back to that, the whole story goes back to Gaza and Israel, and the power that Israel has within the United States is very questionable. And I think that's the only reason that it was bombed. I don't believe for 1 minute that they took out Iran's nuclear capability. I don't believe for 1 minute. But as you say, it's very hard to get objective news on it.
Now, just in relation to Iran, and I'm playing devil's advocate here just for the sake of the conversation, Liam. But first, Iran has committed on numerous occasions to obliterate Israel. They don't believe Israel should be there, for starters, right? So it's not like there is a threat there because they've stated themselves on a couple of occasions. If Iran were nuclear ready, so they had nuclear bombs, we can't really, I don't think, expect them to stay within their borders. They would try and seek the destruction of Israel, and who's to say what else they might try and do in that region, the same as we're seeing Russia, trying to reclaim what it sees as its, i.e. Ukraine. A nuclearized Iran is not just going to sit there and go, well, no one's touching us now. They would try and expand, and they would try and fulfill their commitment to destroy Israel. Would you not have any concerns in that scenario?
Well, Israel's a nuclear power itself, so I think it'd be foolish for Iran to, if they had a nuclear weapon, to be firing a nuke at Israel. Now they have said that the destruction of Israel, they want to complete the destruction, and it's a fairly legitimate position to take, because in reality Israel has stolen Palestinian land. It's an occupation, and nothing's going to convince me otherwise. You know what I mean? I think it's one of the biggest mistakes ever from the UN to allow this to ever happen in 1948, and we've seen nothing but bloodshed and terror and instability in the region because of the creation of the State of Israel.
So where would you, if you're endorsing the destruction of Israel, what does that look like?
Well, it means a one-state solution where, like before 1948, where Jews and Arabs and Christians could live together peacefully.
So you're not talking about the destruction of it physically. You're talking about the dismantling of the structure of Israel.
Off the state of Israel. I'm not advocating a genocide of people or anything to that effect. Now the reality is, this past week or so has shown that Iran is quite capable of attacking Israel, and that the Iron Dome is not as efficient as it was once thought. We've seen thousands of people fleeing Israel in the last week. Israel's in big trouble here at the minute. And I think that's the main reason that the US have come in and bombed Iran on Saturday. Thousands of people have fled to Cyprus on boat. The Israeli government had to close down airports to stop people leaving Israel. So Israel's in big trouble here at the minute. And let's not get beyond that fact, that Iran was having quite a bit of success. Now they're paying a heavy price, and there have been plenty of people killed by Israeli bombs in Iran also. But I think this was a gesture to try and save Israel, this US bombing on Saturday night.
Well, that was misplaced because it's set a it's turned sort of like a wildfire into a forest fire, really, potentially. And of course, the United States initially claimed that they had no hand, act, or part in Israel's initial bombings of Iran's nuclear facilities, but as it turned out, they let slip that actually they did. And whilst then they say that they've bombed these nuclear sites in Iran, but they're not looking for a leadership change, as it turns out, Donald Trump last night, in the early hours, our time, said actually really that would be preferable to make Iran great again. It's kind of, they must think we're incredibly naive, or the Iranians are very naive, or the rest of the world is naive to try and suggest that Israel and the United States haven't been doing everything that they've been doing in cahoots. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Well, look. At the end of the day, Israel doesn't exist without the United States and their might and their power and their ability to arm them and give them this great weaponry. Israel doesn't exist without that. So at the end of the day, whether the US want to deny that they were involved in it or not, and I do believe that Israel has some autonomy on their own thing, but the reality is Israel doesn't exist without the United States.
I do find it interesting, though, Liam, the likes of yourself and others, and I think I'd have a fair idea of your politics in terms of Palestine and social matters and what have you, because of previous conversations. To be coming out to bat for Iran, it seems a little bit ironic given how they treat women, how they treat homosexuals, how they treat the general population. It feels a bit weird when who I see coming out batting for Iran, if that makes sense. I mean, these aren't the good guys.
I get what you're saying, and I would have been no fan of the Iranian government or the Iranian regime, if you like. At the same time, if you're anti-imperialist, you allow local, or you allow their own countries to their own autonomy. So what? At the end of the day, it's not for me to tell the Iranians how to live or how not to live.
That's because you agree with them.
I would imagine if I lived in Iran as a leftist, absolutely, I would be opposing their own regime.
But you'd probably end up with your head chopped off.
Possibly, yeah. Look, I don't think it's as bad as.
Well, go out and see. If you want to go out and see.
I would prefer living there. They're quite good on education. They're quite good on health. They're quite good.
Are you sure it's not a case of like the enemy of the enemy of my enemy is my friend? It feels
I have
like
no enemies.
Well,
Israel's
your
have
enemy.
no enemies. I just call it as I see.
Yeah, but you've already said you'd welcome the destruction of Israel, so it feels like the enemy of the enemy is my friend. That's how it's feeling.
Well,
I feel there's a lot of people in this country are parking their moral sensibilities because it sort of suits in this overall narrative. But Iran are not the good guys.
Iran are not the good guys. The government are not something I would support, but I do support their own. You know what I mean? Their own autonomy and on what they want to do. They're saying themselves, you know what I mean? It's not for me to tell them how to live their lives, and that's imperialist thinking. Saying, if we were back 150 years ago, the colonial countries would be going out with the Bible in hand, telling people this is how you live now. They're going out to tell people how they should treat gay people. And I fully support gay people all over the world. I'm not saying that for any minutes, but it's imperialist thinking to think that we should, and incredibly arrogant to tell people how we should live or how we shouldn't live. How they should live, and how they shouldn't live.
Okay. Thank you for that, Liam. Take care of yourself, and thanks, Brendan. And keep your texts coming in. I will get to them after these.
Ready for a summer of play? A summer-filled series of family feel-good get-togethers in the historic houses and gorgeous gardens of the National Trust. Enter a medieval masterpiece at Castle Ward. Choose your own adventure at majestic Mount Stewart. Make a beeline for Florence Court's 20th anniversary honey show. Enjoy lazy lawn games at Rowallan Garden. Take a beautiful boat trip on Blackwater River at the Argery. Or tee off at the Giant's Causeway. Ready for a summer of play? Search National Trust NI.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Getting your first electric car is like meeting your partner's family for the first time. Nerves are normal. You were stressed about awkward silence with her dad. Now you chat for hours about sport. You worried her mam wouldn't like you. Now she likes you better than her own son. Likewise, once you experience how great an EV can be, you'll never look back, especially if it's a Skoda. Order your electric Enyaq or Elrock today.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396. Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, iPath MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
They say time equals money, so spend your money where you spend your time. No matter what your preference is, Cooney's Home Interiors has something to suit every taste and budget. With our extensive range of home furnishing to fit every room and style, from mattresses and beds to rugs, mirrors and suites of furniture. Visit us in store today and see for yourself what Cooney's have to offer, and let us help you make your dream home a reality. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Huge range, great prices.
Now, 643 people applied for a driving test last month and didn't show up on the day. It brings the total number of no-shows this year to over 3,000. Now, I remember interviewing the former head of the RSA who came on to sort of suggest that this is why people have to wait so long for a driving test. I'm joined by Junior Transport Minister Sean Canny. Thanks, Sean, for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you all in Donegal?
We're doing fantastic. Just settling down now again after the Donegal International Rally, which was a huge success, and it seemed to have been a good policing success as well. I may regret those words. We haven't really got the full extent of reaction yet, but we shall see. I mean, listen, there's a lot of people booking tests and not turning up, but you're not suggesting that this is why, you know, in some cases we're waiting 4, 5 or 6 months for a driving test, is it?
No. First of all, I would say the driving test waiting time has been unacceptable. Back in April, it was a 27-week was the average time you'd wait. Right now, on the 14th of June, that was down to 18. And my objective and the direction I've given to the RSA is to bring that down to 10, which is the service level agreement we have, and that's to be in place by September. So that's the first part of it, and that has been done by a number of initiatives that they have taken, including working longer hours in the day, working at weekends and working on bank holidays to do testing at these times. That's the first thing. As well as that, a cohort of new permanent driving testers are coming on stream, and by the 1st of September we'll have that number up to 200, which is up from 137 this time last year. So basically we are committed to bringing down the waiting times because we just have to. They're unacceptable. There are some other issues, including last year, 2024, there was 8,000 no-shows for tests. This year, so far, that's 3,000. There are some different factors, I think, for that, but some people just may not be able to make it on the day. There could be health issues, there could be the weather, anything like that. But there are a cohort who book a test in order to get another driving permit. They book the test, but then they do not show up. I have a plan in place that from once we get the service level agreement down to 10 weeks, we will then initiate a regulation whereby after 3 applications, you have to do the test. Otherwise, you won't get a continued get a permit without doing the test. And secondly, if that happens again for another 3 times, you will have to go back and do the 12 training lessons again. So I do believe it is having an effect, because if you take so far this year, there are 3,000 people who didn't show up for their tests, and if they rang in a reasonable time and said we won't make the test, somebody else would be out for the test. Therefore, we would have a more efficient system.
Yeah. Now, of course, we're looking at national figures here, sort of national averages and across the board. In closer to home here, what was it? It was, I had the figure here, 39 no-shows in Letterkenny. But anyway, let's go to the waiting times, if you don't mind, because if you are in Buncrana, the 17th of November is when you'd be invited to sit a test. So that's going to be 2026 before you might even sit your test, if the truth be told. And there's similar figures elsewhere. In Letterkenny, it's the 6th of the 10th, so things have improved slightly there. The problem we have is, unless something's changed dramatically in the last couple of months, we've got 4 testers for the entire county of Donegal. There's 1 in Donegal town, as far as I'm aware, and there's 3 in Letterkenny, and Buncrana is covered by Letterkenny. I mean, you know, like, I'm not expecting you to have regional specific answers, because that would be a big ask. But, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, are we going to get more resources up here? Because, as you would know, we don't have fantastic public transport, and we need to get about. Unfortunately, car ownership is part of a life in rural Ireland.
Absolutely, and I come from rural Ireland, Galway here myself, and I understand fully that. I would say that the figures you've quoted there are totally unacceptable for Donegal. As I said, there are testers in training. Some have come out. There will be the next cohort of 30 testers will be coming out at the end of July, first week in September, and they will be deployed to the areas of greatest time left to get a test. And I do believe that the RSA will be looking at that, and I would also bring it to their attention of what's happening in Donegal, which you read there, which is not acceptable.
I just want to focus just specifically on Buncrana then, if that's okay, because it's fantastic to get a commitment from a minister. As you would know, Inishowen, which Buncrana would service, is the size of Louth. We've heard all this before. It's got 1 sort of driving instructor there. It's the worst in Donegal, as I say, 17th of the 11th, 2025, before you can expect to be invited for a test. Now, if someone is off sick for a week, that pushes everything back for a week potentially. Yeah. So will you make, in this regard, will you make a special case to the RSA, just given the fact that I've highlighted that at this point now, it'd be 2026 realistically before you'd even sit your test?
Absolutely, I'll bring that to the attention of the RSA. But what I would say in that is that with the additional testers coming from 137 at the end of last year to we'll have 200 full-time testers. Previously, what had happened, testers were taken on a temporary basis, and then they were let go again. So this time it's permanent, and they will be there,
which is great. So, but I mean, obviously, and I hope you don't think I'm being argumentative, Sean, because it's not my intention. Of course, but when we see the improvements, like I'm being a bit parochial here. We'd love to see that improvement locally, because nationally you're quite correct. Everything you're saying is correct. Bringing on more full-time testers is brilliant, but it's a little bit like New Gardaí walking out of Templemore. We have to sort of try and bat and get our share, do you know what I mean? Because we live in our region, we don't live on a national average, if you get me. But I've no doubt you've committed to raising it directly with the RSA, and I have no doubt you will, because I think the people of Inishowen deserve that, Sean.
And I would also say to you that it is very important that if somebody cannot make the test and they know that, please contact by email or whatever to say I won't make the test, because that will give a test to somebody else. We have young people who have no way of going to college, as you say, other than by a car, sadly. They have also young people going out into work. If you're an apprentice, you need to have a car or a van or something to carry your tools around with you. So it is important that we get the tests out there and that we get them done as quickly as possible. We also have a lack of workers in construction. We have a lack of healthcare workers. A lot of them need to be able to hop in the car and drive. So I think it's important. I recognise this, and that's why I met with the RSA a number of weeks ago, and I gave them direction on what to do, and I must compliment their staff, what they've done so far, and what we need to do is just keep the momentum going. And hopefully, when I'm talking to you in September, we will have different figures to talk to you about in relation to Inishowen and Donegal. And the important thing is that the feedback I'm getting is good, because it's telling me exactly what's happening on the ground. We have an issue in Drogheda and that whole area there where they don't have a driving centre. And we need another driving centre in Sandycove, testing centres. Both of them now are being put in place, and they're moving along very, very quickly. And I'd hope to see that we would have Drogheda in place. Now that takes a huge catchment. It's not just for Drogheda, which means it could free up other testing centres to do better for themselves. And I think the no-shows, if we can get on top of that, and I will be doing something on that in September, in that anybody who has applied for their driver permit, after 3 permits, they will have to sit the test, otherwise they won't get a permit again. And I think the message there is we want everybody to drive that needs to drive. We need to have people qualified to be able to drive, but we also have to make sure that the system is not what I would call used or abused by some people.
But I think even us having this conversation now is encouraging those who are rolling over learner permits to actually sort of say, right, I'm not I'm not getting away with this any longer. I'm going to have to get my stuff in order, which is good, I think, because statistically we know L drivers and their involvements in road traffic collisions. We're not trying to target a group of people. Statistically, we know what the crack is. And it has to be a two-tier approach, because obviously there are some people, Sean, who just flaunt the law. But then there are those who feel they've no choice but to risk driving as a learner on a learner permit. We could never endorse that, because that's highly illegal, and the guards crack down on it and the penalties are really quite severe. But we also have to, which you're committed to doing, to allow those that want to conform, to allow those that want to drive within the law to get legally on the road.
Absolutely, and I think with a short journey, as I'm saying there, I would be hoping that coming the first week in September, and this is the plan that I have received from the RSA, and they are giving me an update report on it every 2 weeks, and I meet with Sam Wade if necessary. We also have contingency planning going into place, so that if something is going wrong with this plan, we have a fallback position to try and improve it. And I do believe that, the bank holiday weekends, for instance, on a bank holiday, there could be up to 1,000 tests done so far on the 2 bank holidays since I came into the office. And that's 2,000 people who have had their tests. I don't know what the failure rate or the success rate is, but at least we're getting through the testing, and we're not compromising the integrity of the test and the safety on our roads.
Have you any concern that the test doesn't account for driving in frost or a bit of black ice or on a motorway in certain cases, or indeed engaging with traffic lights? Do you have any concern in relation to that? So if you do your test in Donegal Town, for an example, you don't, unless schools are on, there's no traffic lights. You're never going to be tested at night. You're never going to be tested if your windscreen potentially has some frost in the morning. Well, that's actually, I'm being quite extreme in relation to that, but let's just say there was black ice or ice on the road or what have you. But I understand that'll snow. But as I say, no motorways, no traffic lights, no multi-lane roundabouts, no nighttime driving. And then you pass your test after 25 minutes and away you go to drive all over the country. Is that just a quirk of the makeup of the country, or is that something that concerns you?
Well, I think first of all, the test is just a test. You have done 12 lessons before that. You've been out practicing before that. But I would say that the driving test, as it is a well proven and has a good track record. But nothing is ever perfect, and we will be looking for systems that we can actually improve the test. And we have more motorways now. We have roundabouts. We have traffic lights, and maybe some people living in some parts of the country don't experience this. But you are right. First thing is that somebody's competent in the car. They know the dangers of car, and also how to observe and make sure that they are driving within the speed limits. And I think from a road safety point of view, for which I have responsibility as well, it is important that we continue to, I suppose, interrogate the system we have for testing and to improve it where we can.
Okay, well, relatively new in the job, so to speak, in terms of taking action in this area. So we'll wait and see, and the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. But you seem quite confident, and we'll reflect again into the future. I hope you're successful. Sometimes it can feel, even when you're trying to make change, I'm sure that you're banging a head against a brick wall. But we wish you every success, because it benefits us all, Sean.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, take care of yourself. I do appreciate your time. Okay, that was, of course, sorry, I should mention, Junior Transport Minister Sean Canny. We'll see, won't we? I'm going to keep a particular eye on Inishowen. There have seemingly been some improvements in Donegal Town and to a lesser extent Letterkenny. So all of those areas need our attention. But I think Inishowen has been particularly left behind, not just in a national scale, but then I suppose if you look at on a county-wide scale. So the Minister there committed to chase up that area specifically with the RSA. So let's see if anything comes from that. Back with your comments after these.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the costs.
Republic of Ireland residents can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
At Maple Milford, we make everyday shopping simple with fresh meat, dairy, fruit and veg and all the essentials for your summer barbecues, picnics and everything in between. At Maple Milford, we've got you covered, and if you're planning to host, you'll find a fantastic selection of refreshing beverages and treats to keep the good times flowing. With great weekly deals and easy parking right outside, popping in is quick, convenient and always worth it. Come and see what's in store. Maple Milford, fresh, convenient, local.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
Celebrate your love at the award-winning Villa Rose Hotel and Spa Ballybuffet. The elegant Cadbury Suite hosts up to 300 guests with a private garden and romantic stone cottage for unforgettable wedding photos. Experience exceptional service that turns your dream wedding into reality. Visit villarose.ie to start planning.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up? Fresh colour for your walls? Or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenney's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Okay, we're still waiting on the day and time for Donegal's game against Monaghan in the quarterfinals proper of the All-Ireland Championship. We were talking to Brendan Devaney after 11. He was commenting on the game yesterday with Brendan Kilcoyne, just reflecting on what went on. We want your views on that as well too, 086 60 25,000. And hopefully we'll have a chat to the winning team from the Donegal International Rally as well. That's coming up all after 11 and so much more. Besides, Greg, RSA have been far too slow in closing the learner permit loophole. Also, they should not wait for big backlogs to hire extra testers. I just think historically there's been a problem with not enough testers. Why can't we just go and employ more testers? I'm sure that many people would be interested in this job. If 1 or 2 testers are off sick, the whole system shouldn't collapse. Well, the Minister is committing to do just that. Thank you. Keep your comments coming in. 086 60 25,000. Loads of you commenting too on the United States action on Israel at the weekend. That and so much more besides coming up after we take a short break for the news and the obituary notices.
The countdown is on. Just a few months until Highland in the Sun hits Salou. Just picture it. This September, from the 14th to the 21st, you can enjoy 7 nights bed and breakfast plus dinner in the beautiful 4-star Sol Costa Dorada Hotel with airport transfers in Spain included. You will enjoy 7 nights of the music that you love, including Mick Flavin, Claudia Buckley, Johnny Brady, Dominic Kerwin and many, many more. Give yourself an end of summer treat by booking your getaway with Highland Radio and myself, David James. Contact Country Music Tours to book your place today on 074 9119 955. See ya in Salou.
Fabric World's hot summer sale now on, with fabulous discounts on curtain and upholstery fabric and half price pots in our garden department. Summer sandals and fashion from £10. Crafty deals, 3 fabric pieces for £12. And there's always great Euro rates at Fabric World, Maydown, Derry.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all.
You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800-370-000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
For the biggest names in perfume and aftershaves, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Dolce & Gabbana, Paco Rabanne, Carolina Herrera, Calvin Klein, Jimmy Choo and Burberry, Ariana Grande, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Vera Wang and many more. From timeless classics to celebrity favourites, there's a perfume or aftershave for everyone at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie.
Ready for sunshine? Fly EasyJet from Belfast International Airport to a range of holiday destinations including Tenerife, Amsterdam, the Algarve, Barcelona and many more, which you can find in Belfast International Airport's summer schedule. Don't miss out, book today with EasyJet. Find your destination inspiration.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €2,300 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot tonight at 8:30.
Euronics are celebrating 20 years in Ireland with great offers across all departments. If you need a new washing machine or fridge freezer, TV or laptop, vacuum cleaner or air fryer, gas cooker or hob, the chances are it's now at a reduced price. Visit Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road Letterkenny or the shopping centre Dunlow.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Katie Gillen with the news at 10 o'clock. Emergency services are currently at the scene of suspected car fire at the top of Lurgy Brack. The incident is causing traffic disruption for motorists travelling on the N13 from Stranorlar towards Letterkenny. Motorists are advised to allow for extended travel times. The High Court in Belfast will later decide on the future of the A5. Since the project was first proposed in 2007, 57 people have died along the road, which links Donegal and Monaghan through Tyrone and Derry. Emily Keegan reports.
Stormont ministers gave the £1.2 billion project, which is set to receive €600 million in backing from the Irish government, the green light in October last year. The upgrade would see it turned from a single carriageway with some passage lanes to a full dual carriageway along an 85-kilometre stretch from Derry to Auchnacloy in County Tyrone. Preparation work had already started on parts of the scheme, and in March this year the infrastructure minister visited a location where some advanced works are underway. However, landowners along the route have been fighting the case and began judicial review proceedings against the dual carriageway. The case was heard over several days earlier this year and the judgment will be delivered today. The umbrella group, known as the Alternative A5 Alliance, contended it would breach legislative targets set out in the Climate Change in Northern Ireland Act 2022 to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Lawyers acting for those in favour of the road claimed objectors were presenting private interests disguised in the cloak of environmentalism.
The public inquiry into the Omagh bombing is to hear opening statements this morning. It's investigating whether the 1998 real IRA bombing in the County Tyrone town could have been prevented. 29 people died, including the mother of unborn twins. 4 in 10 people in Donegal are expecting to receive a salary raise this year, according to new research. The FRS Recruitment Employment Insights report also showed that 2 in every 5 people in Donegal believe they could find a new job in 3 months or less. However, 9 in 10 employers in the county are concerned about the current economic outlook, which is ahead of the 72% national average. 6 out of 10 employers in Donegal also acknowledge that they have had difficulty securing new talent this year, while 3 in every 5 say more employees have been looking to change jobs in the last 12 months. Speaking about the data, General Manager of FRS Recruitment, Lynn McCormick, says the views of employers and employees are not aligning.
38% of people expect to receive a salary increase this year. So the fact that people feel more confident in their jobs, or if they were to change jobs, that they could do so in a short space of time. The worker and the employer views seem to be quite different this year. From the employer's perspective, 9 out of 10 employers were concerned about the economic outlook. A lot of local employers said that they were less likely to hire this year if things like the US imposed additional tariffs that would apply to Ireland.
Police in Derry and Strabane say they are concerned about the welfare of a man missing from the Castledurg area. Aaron Lynch was last seen at approximately 1:15 this morning in the Ahi Aaron area. He was last seen wearing a red coat, a white t-shirt and grey shorts. Anyone who sees a person matching this description or knows of Aaron's whereabouts is asked to contact police on 101. The average house price in Donegal has risen to €243,000. According to the latest Daft.ie report, the county has seen a 63% increase compared to the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, as shown by the second quarter's data for this year. Prices rose by 8% in the second quarter of 2025 compared to the same period last year. Nationally, housing prices rose by an average of 3% during Q2, with the typical listed price being nearly €358,000. Author of the report, economist Ronan Lyons, says there are some variances across the country.
For example, Dublin has an inflation rate of 12%, but Cork, the inflation rate is slower. It's only 8%. I say only 8%, but still 8% is a very big increase in a 12-month period. Galway and Limerick cities are seeing inflation more or less in line with the national average, and with Dublin between 12 and 13%.
643 people applied for a driving test last month and didn't show up on the day. It brings the total number of no-shows this year to over 3,000. Missed tests have generated a fee of almost €258,000 this year. Junior Transport Minister Sean Canny says some people are booking tests just so they can renew their provisional licence.
That system is going to change. We're ready to change it, but what we want to do is get the service level agreement targets down to 10 weeks average waiting, and at that stage we will bring in a system whereby if you have applied 3 times for a test just to get your permit extended, well, at that stage you will have to also undergo a test.
And now for the weather. Apart from a few isolated showers this morning, it will be dry for most of today with variable cloud and some sunny spells. High temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with the headlines at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, June 23rd. The death has occurred of Rosaleen Macaulay, née Crawford, Shesha Castlefin, County Donegal. Her remains will be reposing at her late residence today and tomorrow from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Wednesday morning of the funeral is private to the family, please. Funeral cortege will be leaving her late residence on Wednesday morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Castlefin for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in St Columba's Church Cemetery, Donyloop. Funeral Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam via YouTube. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to Cancer Research and Donegal Hospice, care of any family member, or Kelly's Funeral Directors, Oakfield Raffo. The death has occurred of Kathleen O'Donnell, née Shields, Portsalon Fanid, 33 Ballyrain Park, Letterkenny, and previously of Ard O'Donnell. She will be reposing at her home today from 4 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning in St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, with burial afterwards in New Leck Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on Church Services TV. The death has occurred of Hugh Gormley, Maharaboy, Raffo, County Donegal. Hugh's remains are reposing at his late residence. Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral cortege will be leaving his late residence tomorrow morning at 8:30, going to St Mary's Archery, Buncrana for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in St Mary's Church Cemetery, Cockhill, Buncrana. Funeral Mass can be viewed online via the parish webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Patients Comfort Fund, Beach Hill Manor Nursing Home, Buncrana, care of any family member, or Kelly's Funeral Directors, Oakfield Raffo. And the death has taken place of Michael J. Bonner, Hillside, Greencastle. Removal from his late home this morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Funeral Mass in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to St Vincent de Paul, Ireland, care of any family member, or Eamon McLaughlin, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Organ donation saves and transforms lives. A change in Irish law means that if you are an adult, you will now be considered an organ donor when you die. The choice to become an organ donor is yours, but it's important that your loved ones know your wishes. A register is available for those who would like to opt out of organ donation. Visit hse.ie/organ donation or call HSE Live on 1800 700 700 to find out more. From the HSE.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It is this Monday, the 23rd of June 2025. We're into the second hour of the programme. Thank you so much for getting our phone lines and text lines so busy. And it's on various topics as well. Greg mentioned some of the flaws of the driving test, such as driving in the dark or in icy conditions. A programme was done on Top Gear about the process to drive in Finland. They must complete 3 years of training before they can take a test. This is why they are such good drivers. Their basic training is our advanced driver training. Maybe somewhere in between where we're at and there as well. And also, too, not necessarily out of our own pockets, you know. We pay a lot of tax. Maybe the government could help with some of that stuff. Staying on the roads, the grass should have been cut on the dual carriageway this year for the rally. The entrances of the town should have been looking presentable and looking well. The council should have done better. I didn't see where you're talking of, but what I did note is that on some of the stages of the rally, people themselves were, and they probably do it in the summer anyway, but, you know, cutting grass out, painting fences. And I actually think our county looked wonderful. As I say, I wasn't in Letterkenny. I didn't see much of it, but what I have seen and what I've seen with my own eyes, it just looked like an amazing part of the world, which indeed it is. He says nothing is perfect, therefore an 85 test pass should be introduced, which would allow a reduction on the waiting list. Many are failed for minor mistakes, which should be failed advisable on the test. Now, I haven't done my test for quite some time, so I don't know. Maybe if you've sat your test, and this caller has one view, and I'm not in any way disregarding it, but do you believe that the test is too rigid? Or maybe minor mistakes counted as majors? Let us know. A family member had to book and pay 6 times for their test. The instructor on one occasion wouldn't do the test as he said there was a stain on the seat, and on another occasion the tester cancelled the test day before he was sick. The RSA is not fit for purpose and now trying to deflect with blaming on cancellations. Well, that is exactly why I wanted to talk about that. That was my first question, because it got my back up a little bit when we spoke to the former head of the RSA, who suggested that, you know, it's all down to us not turning up for tests, and that's nonsense. There could be a little bit of flexibility as well. Now, the statistics that I was referencing just before 10, they are specifically people who didn't turn up. So your tester who didn't like the stain on the seat or what have you, that wouldn't be included in those statistics. But I've heard lots of stories similar to what you've just said there. A huge thanks to the Gardaí for their work during the rally, says a listener. Their zero tolerance seems to have paid off very well. It is the first Saturday night ever during a rally that we weren't kept awake all night by road noise. Over the rally weekend, the minute excessive road noise started. Sorry, let me start that again. Over the rally weekend, the minute excessive road noise started, it took a short time for it to stop, meaning the Gardaí were obviously on it straight away. Again, a huge thanks to them. Now, I'm not sure if it is because the Garda operation had wound up, but I did hear some reports that things got quite noisy in certain areas last night. And I do know as well there are people in the Milford sort of district area who didn't get any sleep at all on Saturday night. So different areas are gonna feel different things. Who, with more than 2 brain cells to rub together, has ever claimed good leadership regarding Trump? The man's bankrupted casinos, those print money. He's the definitional moron who managed to ride a culture clash to power. Well, 50% of Americans went out and thought, you know what, you did so well in your first term, we're giving you another go. So probably those people. Israel will never allow Iran to get nuclear weapons. The supporters of Islamic terrorists in Donegal will be very disappointed. Greg, the tide seems to be turning against Trump in the United States now. Well, maybe it's only on my YouTube. That's the worst thing about watching a YouTube video. You get overrun with videos. There are these people with their own YouTube channel, and I don't know who any of them are and what, if any, journalistic credibility or qualifications they have. They all seem to be anti-Trump. But I'm very wary of anything I watch nowadays. I wonder, though, what the people in America are seeing on YouTube and if it's the same. Well, it's algorithms. So if you watch a video of on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, if you watch a couple of videos of anti-Trump rallies, that's what you're going to be given. So you could very easily start thinking that the only thing that's happening in America is anti-Trump. Conservatism liberalism has been monetized now, so those YouTube channels, they create content for the people that like what they're making to make money. So it's not impartial, and I don't think anyone pretends that it is. But the algorithms are such that you will keep getting videos of stuff that you like watching, and if you are anti-Trump, you're going to keep getting watched. You keep going to get anti-Trump videos. But you talk about journalistic integrity, if they've got any. Again, let me point to the fact that of all the coverage I'm seeing in the Western media of what's happening in the Middle East, it seems to be very pro-Israel, pro-America, the job's done, bullseye, all that kind of stuff. And they're not really platforming as well as I think they should, just so that we get a balanced view on it. What the Russians are saying, what the Iranians are saying, you might not like them, but it'd be very interesting, given the global consequences, that we kind of get a sense of what they believe happened, how impactful it was on their nuclear program, etc. Morning, Greg. Our government are doing the same as Trump by getting rid of our triple lock without letting the people have a referendum. They have the numbers to push ahead. Thank you. It's a big shout to do without consulting the public, no doubt. Another caller says it's very simple, Greg. The Jews, the Jewish people, rule the US, and they are the ones taking advantage of the US and not Europe, as Trump believes. The US elected a lunatic to run the country, and this is the result. Let me see. I'll come back to that one in a second. We need to look into the Gaza 1 and Gaza 2 gas wells. This is what's causing the war in Gaza. It's all about oil. They reckon there's enough gas in the wells to power Gaza 17 times over. This would make the Palestinians rich, and that's what it's all about. But Israel's an incredibly rich country, and America has tons of its own gas and oil, thanks to Trump policy. So I'm not sure if that's as big a motivator as it once was, perhaps. No American boots on the ground. Russians are full of bluster. They will not intervene. You want both sides of the story, but not when it comes to Ireland's open borders policy. They've obviously got issues with mass immigration and have actually managed to get it in there in their view of what's happening in the Middle East, which is quite remarkable. I'm not... We discuss this stuff all the time in the programme. And there was a massive march down in Dublin. There was a couple of marches down in Dublin. There's one in Cork too on housing over the weekend as well. Wonder where they're all refuelling airplanes, Greg. Well, some of them refuel in the sky. I wonder, are you suggesting some of these planes can fly great distances without refueling? I know there is refueling in Shannon, but the ones that flew over North Donegal, I believe they went direct to somewhere in Europe. Come on, Greg. Trying to defend anything Israel does is not ethical at the minute. Iran's stance on LGBT rights is not the focus at the minute. Palestine and Iran has the right to self-determination and resistance. No, I'm just... My point is this. I don't understand how you think I'm defending anything Israel has done, but I respect your view if that's the impression I gave. I'm just saying that I find it interesting that there are a lot of people, okay, on the left, let me put it to you like that are very much coming out to bat for Iran, but they wouldn't last 5 minutes in Iran because of the way that country is run. I think that's a fair enough observation, isn't it? A caller says, I spent 75% of my life in London. There was a high Jewish population. They were great neighbours and people. You could walk around the area and live in peace. I always found them to be very nice. They wouldn't want to argue with you or be violent. Back in Ireland, I found the Irish to be more aggressive. I can't understand what's happening in Israel. Sorry, yeah, they say. The facts are that Barack Obama, Bush and Joe Biden issued 10 times more attacks on various Middle East countries, killing innocent people in their thousands. They were wrong also. Yet when Trump does it, he is dangerous and unbalanced, but the others are considered sane and saintly. Wow, okay. Weapons of mass destruction. America being dragged into a multi-year war on false information. The negative impact that's had on Bush and Blair and the rest, I don't think they're held in high regard by anyone, to be honest with you, unless you agreed with what they did. But this caller says, Genocide Joe has a lot to answer for Palestine. We won't hear that. It's not so simple as Trump, bad, all others good. I detest violence, whether it's Trump or Obama. All violence should be called out. It's wrong. Well, listen, calling out Trump's policy is not necessarily anti-Trump, and then, you know, it's Genocide Joe versus Trump. The only thing is you can trust people on their record. Trump came in saying he'd be a clean brush. He said he'd end the war in Russia, between Russia and Ukraine. That hasn't happened. He says he would sort out the Middle East. It hasn't happened. In fact, things have got progressively worse since Trump was in power. Inflation is still very high in America. The cost of living is still very high. You're only judging people equally on their record. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm not pro-Trump. Unless it actually affects me, I don't really care who runs America. All I'm saying is that he's 4 or 5 or 6 months deep into his administration, and everything that he's promised hasn't really been achieved, except arguably strengthening the US border and the deportation of illegal immigrants. Other than that, everything else he's promised, the art of the deal and all that kind of stuff, is not working. And Russia, actually, again, I'm not sure if you saw the coverage, but Vladimir Putin has changed his attitude very much to the United States and has had a couple of digs at Trump in the last few days. So things just aren't all rosy in the Rose Garden. All right, let's take a break. The obituary notices are on the way, and we have so much more coming up between 9 and noon.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 23rd of June. You're playing on the green sheet for the daily prize of €400. The reference number is S6. It's game number 26. The numbers are 22, 19, 77, 53, 20, 14, 64, 50, 11, and finally 27. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Charge into summer with TUI. Choose from a beach cruise or city break or Mexico flying direct from Dublin. Holiday sorted. TUI, live happy.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7. Enjoy Laser Quest, soft play, darts or a game of pool before dining in their fast food diner or family restaurant. See arena7.ie.
At Franklin's, we understand getting the right property valuation matters. If you're selling your home in Donegal, trust the experts who truly know the market. Whether you're upsizing, downsizing, we're here to help every step of the way. At Franklin's, we do things differently. Honest advice, expert guidance, and a name you can trust. Book your valuation today at franklins.ie or call our office on 07491 88 000. Franklin's, putting the value in valuations.
This July 18th and 19th, Gweedore comes alive with Salt Music Festival 2025. On Saturday 19th, experience The Stunning, the Sharon Shannon Big Band with Garen Noon, the Luke Combs Experience, and many more. For more information and tickets, go to saltfela.ie. Salt Music Festival 2025. 2 days, one place, great music.
Right, let's talk Lyme disease because there's a lot of people have Lyme disease. I don't have an exact figure on it, but there's a lot of people around this county that have it. And for years, really, they've been disbelieved or have struggled to get diagnosis or been told it's in their head. And I think that really is all. I think that really is all added to a situation whereby it's not talked about as much as it possibly could be. And we do know what the risk factors are. Amongst them are ticks. And there are others, but a lot of the people that end up with Lyme disease, it starts off as a tick bite. And if you don't sort of have the knowledge or if you don't get early access to antibiotics, it can have a devastating impact in the short term, the medium term, and indeed the long term. So it's really just something we should all be aware of. And all it is really double checking yourself after you've got after you've been out through grass, check your kids, all that kind of stuff. We'll get through some of the telltales, but I want to bring Terry Burton onto the show either because it's a timely reminder as we get out and about and into our beautiful outdoors. Terry, good morning to you. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay. So what's your story, Terry?
I'm a photographer and I was up in Gweedore, Dunfanaghy and Creeslough doing a shoot. We were in fields and I got bitten by a tick.
Did you know you got bit in the moment, Terry?
No.
Okay.
No. I've been bitten by ticks a few times because I'm often in a field. And this time I didn't notice either, and I had long trousers on. Like they were with a cuff, so unlikely that one would get into my trousers, but it did. It wasn't. There was a mild itch the next day, and that's when I found it.
And it was still attached to you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I took it off and put some steroid cream on it and kept an eye on it. But I knew like very quickly that this was different to the other ticks that I'd had. There was different symptoms.
Yeah, go on, talk to me about that, because I think that's important.
Okay, well, it progressed pretty quickly. So I got bitten on Thursday, pulled it off on the Friday. So it was within 24 hours, which is good, apparently. And then on Saturday, there was like a maybe 7 or 8 centimetre in diameter red, itchy circle around the bite. There was no bullseye ring, but I kept an eye on it, and I pressed down on it, and I could see that there was one forming. So I was able to be attended by Dr. Farah Maidin, and she immediately prescribed a very, very strong dose of doxycycline. They're actually evil, by the way, really, really horrible antibiotics. But yeah, so we got it within 36 hours anyway, and got it treated. So, but I had the stiff neck. I felt slightly nauseous, and energy was very low. But you know, when you get to a certain age, you have those things daily anyway. So there weren't like clear, unique symptoms. They could have been. There's lots of things could have caused those symptoms, but it was the bullseye ring. That was the thing that was like, it was very clear.
And you had no issue in terms of this being recognised as Lyme disease and getting the appropriate antibiotics?
No, because Farah Maidin, actually, she's quite an outdoorsy doctor, and she would have come across it, and there was no grey area in her mind what it was. And also, it's one of those things you can't test. You know, especially not within the first week, you can't test the person to see is it Lyme. And even long term, you read stories about people having it for 10 years and still not getting an accurate test. So there's something wrong with the testing.
Well, it's the problem the problem is it has been a historical attitude towards Lyme disease where people present and if they've missed the bullseye or they've gone through, you know, they're further down the road, it's put down as absolutely everything seemingly before it's Lyme disease. And we've people paying 600, 700, 800, 900 euro of their own money to get tests sent to Germany to try and ascertain it. And if it wasn't for consultant Lambert down in Dublin, you know, people couldn't get prescribed the proper antibiotics even to sort of try and manage it once it's taken hold. If it wasn't for him, God knows how bad the situation might be for so many. And were you familiar with how Lyme disease can progress, Terry, and how sort of, you know, impactful it can be on people's lives and organs and energy and everything else?
Yeah, because I know from social media, like the Bella Hadid and her mum both were quite public about the fact they had Lyme disease, so I'd heard about it from that. But like I just noticed that there were different symptoms this time. Like I've had ticks before, and I didn't, you know, I wasn't worried, didn't get any treatment. So no, like I was just lucky. That's all. Yeah, I think you have to err on the side of caution. Like the idea of having Lyme disease was terrifying to me. The idea of not having mobility and freedom, or maybe getting arthritis or any of the other things, or losing your eyesight is one of the indicators, which would be a bit of a problem as a photographer.
Yeah, of course it would. Now, what happens is when you, and I'm demonstrating an image here, that when you sort of look at, you know, post-tick bite for Lyme disease, you know, you get the typical, right? It's a very, very clear center bull and then the outer ring, right? So that bullseye sort of marking. Are you saying that wasn't necessarily immediately evident in you? In other words, if you hadn't maybe scrutinized this a little bit more, could you have just put that down to sort of a local reaction and nothing to it? Because often it's not as clear as even the NHS or the HSC might suggest it is with their pictures.
Although if you dig about in the information that's out there, you can see that the bullseye isn't like a finite. Yeah. It isn't finite proof. But yeah, I always go on symptoms, and I just knew straight away that this was a different reaction to ones that I'd had previously. So, and okay, you can't take a risk with your health.
Yeah,
It's better to be on the side of caution.
Are there enough signs out and about? Because there have been campaigns for ages to try and get signs out and about. I think there are some in certain areas. Can you recall if you encountered a tick warning sign, or were you too focused maybe on the photography and what have you?
No. Listen, I notice absolutely everything. I'm like constantly hypervigilant about the most random details. No, there were no signs whatsoever. And actually, I only know one other person that's been bitten by a tick.
Wow. Okay.
I was speaking to a man as well locally because he saw me. The antibiotics that I've been on gave me extreme sun sensitivity, so my hands have been on fire with this weather. Like I couldn't go outside. So this man saw me sitting putting aloe vera on outside Super Value, and I told him what was up, and he had a very strong reaction. He was angry. Actually, said that I couldn't go saying it was Lyme disease. I don't know exactly why it was his business or why it bothered him at all, but yeah, I was surprised by that there was hostility about its existence.
Wow, that's just from a random member of the public.
Well, yeah, I know the guy and he's nice, but yeah, he had a very strong reaction to it. So I don't know, maybe he was hungry.
I think you're being generous, Terry, you rascal. Come here. What about going forward now? Because are you confident in that this tough round of antibiotics you're on now will make sure that this doesn't escalate within you? Because as you talked about testing there, so I mean, is there something at the back or at the front of your mind? In fact, how will you know if? Because this can embed itself. We know that, right? And then symptoms can appear later down the line. Not wishing to alarm anyone, but what's the advice? Medical advice?
Well, my understanding is, you just have to keep an eye on the symptoms, and because they're so general, it could be anything. Like I have a stiff neck for many reasons, so I'm just going to have to keep an eye on it now. I think as well with all these things, using your gut is not a bad idea. If your instinct is saying that there's something up, go and get it treated. Don't go against it. But yeah, I mean, as far as I understand, because you can get sepsis from it, and I've had that before, and that was awful. So that was my main concern really. So that's why I took the tablets. That I think it did do the job. Looking at the bite now, it's still bruised. You can still see the bite in the middle, and that's over a week ago.
Wow.
But as long as it doesn't travel to your lymph nodes, that's when it really.
That's when it can travel around your body, isn't it? Okay, so what is your advice from your experience? Is it get to the GP straight away and advocate? Because as you've learned from your conversation, although not with a medical professional, attitudes to Lyme disease can sort of vary. So do you think it's important you seem to have hit on a GP that gets it, right? And I'm not saying others don't, but do you think it's important, Terry, that people say, no, I've got these symptoms, I got bit by a tick, I really need to get down potentially this course of treatment?
Yeah, listen, I would probably go in and say that to the GP. Like GPs are humans as well, and they could be overworked and they could be having problems at home. They may not be fully focused on the issue. So yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't understand why there would be any contention if you go in and say I was bitten by a tick and now I've got this big mark and I've got a sore neck. I don't see how anybody could say that it was anything other than a Lyme carrying tick. Now I don't even know if I can say that I don't know if I have Lyme. I also don't know if the tick had it, but all I know is I had some symptoms that were frightening, and there was a potential for catastrophe, and I'm not taking the risk.
100%, and you have to trust your GP. Your GP's not going to throw those antibiotics out for the sake of it. They obviously were of the view that this is, and I think precautionary, because obviously we know that it's very possible to get Lyme disease from a tick bite, right? So the idea being is that you do everything to prevent it happening.
Yeah.
All right, Terry. Listen, I hope you're doing better soon. I think you're doing okay now, but you know what I mean. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, fine. Thanks very much.
Take care. Bye bye. Right, now we're joined on the programme by Damien Tansey, senior partner with Damien Tansey Solicitors. And after we came off air on Friday, and we were actually discussing the Creasa tragedy on Friday, as we do regularly. We learned that An Bord Pleanála had overturned a Donegal County Council decision to grant planning permission for the redevelopment of the site of the Creasa tragedy. It's only just over 2 years, really. It's really recent history that this tragedy occurred, and people still very much trying to process it and move forward with their lives. It's hard to believe sometimes that we're talking about this so soon after the tragedy, but here we are. Damien Tansey, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. What's the reaction from the families to this news?
Well, as you know, Donegal County Council granted permission to redevelop the site last February, and on behalf of the numerous clients that we represent in the context of this tragedy, we filed 2 detailed submissions by way of appeals with a view to having the grant struck down or nullified. And you can imagine the relief that the families feel on hearing that An Bord Pleanála sided with them and upheld the appeals lodged on their behalf. You know, as the families see it, to rebuild on the same plot where 10 cherished family members lost their lives, they see that as insulting and disrespectful to the families and the victims of the tragedy. You know, 10 people lost their lives and numerous others suffered catastrophic and life-changing injuries. And the decision of An Bord Pleanála was revealing, and it was in a number of respects, primarily 2. There were 2 planks to the decision. The first basis for their decision, or the first plank of their decision, was that the development, the proposed development, in terms of its concept, in terms of its design, in terms of its mass, in terms of its bulk, was industrial looking and was completely out of character, and would be completely out of character with the streetscape and the character that is Creasa. That was the first plank. And the second one, and this is particularly of interest to our clients, the memorial that was included as part of the development, our clients saw that as being nothing other than tokenism. And it comprised of 10 steel rods. And they saw that as being incredibly insensitive, cruel, callous, and cold, and tactless. And Donegal County Council, in their wisdom, granted permission, despite the memorial being of that character. And despite...
Can you clarify something for me as well, Damien? Did the council make, or someone within the council make a representation to the planning authority, Commission Pleanála, to uphold the council's decision? And if so, is that ordinary?
Well, that's not the way things work. They actually granted permission. So there's an existing permission. And until that's undone, as it were, until that's nullified, it remains a grant of planning permission. So it's up to objectors or people who have a concern about the development to file appeals in relation to same, and that's what we did. That's the way the process is structured. But Donegal County Council did not engage whatsoever with our clients by way of ascertaining from them their views about a memorial and the format that it should take and the location for it and so on. And as far as we're aware, Donegal County Council also never consulted or discussed the planning application with the entities, the state entities that are engaged in investigations and which are still ongoing. Mm-hmm. You know, the Gardaí are still investigating the matter with a view to determining whether a crime was committed. The HSA, the Health and Safety Authority, is conducting an investigation on the basis that this was a workplace. And the Commission for the Regulation of Utilities is conducting an investigation on the basis that there was, volatile, dangerous substances on the site, including petrol and gas and diesel. And the indications are that the explosion was caused by some mishap in relation to the gas installation or the manner in which it was being used. Now, that's all speculation. And, our clients are dealing with a vacuum of information 2.5 years after this tragedy. This was a mass tragedy by any measure. And they still don't know what happened. They still don't know why, on a Friday afternoon, when their loved ones were either at work or went into the petrol station to buy some provisions or to pay for petrol, they suddenly died. And, 2.5 years later, it is high time that this state, Ireland, determined that some forum or some type of investigation, like, for example, a statutory inquiry, is set up with a view to producing answers. The statutory inquiry that our clients have in mind, and we made representations to the government in this regard last October when we met them in government buildings, is an inquiry that would be presided over, say, by a sitting judge or, say, a recently retired High Court judge who would have the authority and the power to summon witnesses, to take evidence under oath, and to make findings at the end of the inquiry with a view to explaining what happened and how this tragedy occurred. Mm-hmm. It's the minimum these people
You're satisfied that those things can all happen at the same time. I think Micheál Martin hasn't ruled out such an inquiry, but my recollection of his comments seemed to be that he would prefer the other processes to come to their conclusion before going down that road.
Well, how long is it going to take, Greg? How long is it going to take? The right to a private life in this country is so fundamental as to be a constitutional right. And that right includes the right to grieve and includes an entitlement on the part of the families of loved ones who lost their lives to be afforded, the space and the time to grieve for their loved ones. And this is a recognized right under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. And in terms, again, if I might refer back to the memorial, when you think about other mass tragedies in this country, for example, Stardust, Omagh, in New York, Ground Zero, in Wales, Aberfan, in England recently, Grenfell, in each of those, in relation to each of those tragedies, the memorial erected on the sites stands as a solemn reminder of loss and as a commitment to never forget. Now, the people in Greethlow are entitled to no more and no less than that. But that is the minimum they require.
Just in relation to the planning decision, and we can only take it as published, the Ombud Pleanála, and to some extent, I suppose, Donegal County Council can only consider planning matters, not feelings or emotions, or maybe not. I'm interested in your views in relation to that. But I think, and I'm not sure if it was just done or if they were making a comment, but I think they did reference to the additional traffic of people wishing to visit the site, those who wanted to pay respects or who were mourning those that they lost. So whilst they could only consider planning matters it did feel to me that they did try to recognise the memorial element to it. Do you get where I'm coming from, Damien? And how do you read that?
There was in the judgment of on board Clonala, which was remarkably brief by normal standards. Very often, excuse me, when a decision is granted by Board Clonala, it's quite a lengthy decision where the reasons for the decision are canvassed at great length. This was remarkably short by normal standards. And as I said earlier in the interview, there was the issue about the unsuitability of what was envisaged in this project in terms of its mass and its style and industrial character when compared with, say, the character and the streetscape and so on of Creeslough. And it also referred to the memorial. But in relation to the memorial, surely at the very least and at the very minimum, the people who lost loved ones and the people who suffered catastrophic injuries are entitled to be consulted about the nature of the memorial, where it's to be located, whether it should be located on the site, whether it should be part of the development that might ultimately happen on this site. There's nothing to prevent the owners or the developers formulating and preparing a totally new application. And if that happens, I trust and expect that lessons will have been learned as a consequence of the recent experience, and that there will be a full and comprehensive consultation with the interested parties.
I think too, given the nature of that little patch of grass beside where bikes are being parked and what have you, is to if there were any future plans, is trying to rebalance it. You know, the commercial wants and maybe the needs of the community, but also recognising what happened there. And I think too, Damien, and I'm not sure if this is
safety issues.
Yep.
Greg, safety issues.
Yep,
there was an explosion on this site on the basis of, in a sense, the mismanagement of volatile, dangerous materials. I mean, that's what it looks like.
Understood. But Damien, also too, I think what we need to is, and I'm not sure if this can be done officially or whatever, is how victims of these tragedies are interacted with, be it local authorities. I think the Gardaí, they're satisfied enough in that regard. But in terms of how people are notified of certain processes, be it an application, be it a decision, you know, a lot of this information was being found out by the press and what have you. I think the country needs to learn how to deal with the victims of a tragedy like this, because the way it is at the moment, we as a state are compounding people's heartbreak and tragedy and trauma, you know, rather than sort of dealing with them sympathetically. Everyone's moved on, the families haven't, and I think the system needs to be looked at in that regard. They should be front and centre of all of this in terms of when people are notified, not by a letter that comes a day after a newspaper article stating what's in the letter or a report on the radio or what have you. You know, we need to learn how to deal respectfully with victims and surviving members of family around these tragedies, I think.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly, and the processes involved in planning, for example, and in rebuilding on a site where there was a mass tragedy, by definition, involves an absolute need, a profound need, to consult with and engage with the people who have the most profound interest in this. And they are the people who lost loved ones and so on. And there is no movement on in relation to their lives. They don't move on, because what's happening or what's not happening by way of revelations as to the cause is in the nature of a stop or a bar on those people being able to, as it were, get on with their lives.
Okay, Damien, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Damien Tansey there, Senior Partner with Damien Tansey solicitors, who represent many of those who have been so heavily impacted by that awful tragedy which occurred just 2.5 years ago.
Who the hell are you? Get ready, Donegal. Highland Radio is throwing a party like no other. It's the Big Highland Summer Bingo Party, hosted with me, Keith Fletcher,
and me, Lee Gooch, Hawaiian shirts, hulas, how the hula are ya? Big laughs and even bigger cash prizes. With €1,000 up for grabs, expect big party tunes, madness, and just a little bit of mayhem.
So, Saturday the 2nd of August at Jackson's Hotel, Ballybofey.
You better get your tickets quick on eventbrite.com.
Hey, what? Is it over 18s?
You better mention it's over 18.
Okay. And it's over 18s.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up, fresh colour for your walls, or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
Pink. It's more than a colour. It's a splash that makes everything feel fresher. Pink socks to work? Guaranteed good day. Pink running shoes are a PB waiting to happen. Pink umbrella? You'll forget it's even raining. And now, pink meets 7-Up. Crisp, fizzy, fun. Turning every sip into a refreshing burst of flavour. New 7-Up Pink Lemonade. 0 sugar. Life's fresher with pink.
Granny, did you hear what I said?
If you've been saying, what was that? A bit more lately, it might be time to have your hearing checked. At Connect Hearing, we don't just fit hearing aids, we help you hear life again. From tiny in-the-ear styles to Bluetooth connected devices, we fit the best solution for you. Call 074 911 3296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
I'm at Dublin Airport Terminal 1 doing a survey. Oh, here's someone. Excuse me, do you mind if I ask you a question? How far did you have to park from the airport? Oh, that far. Did you know that if you'd taken an expressway coach, it would have been super comfy and so easy to book, and it would have dropped you right here at the door? Oh, you didn't. Oh well, next time. Bye. If you're going to Dublin Airport, book online at expressway.ie and get right to the door. Don't go the car way, go expressway. Way better.
Looking for a career in Donegal with real purpose and growth potential? Tata Consultancy Services, proud winner of Workplace of the Year, is hiring customer service professionals. Be part of a passionate, innovative team with great opportunities to grow your tech career right here in Donegal. Apply today at tcscareers.ie. That's tcscareers.ie.
Would you like to experience the magic of Riverdance 30, the new generation? Come along with Highland Radio on Thursday, August the 28th for an unforgettable trip to Dublin's Gaiety Theatre. Enjoy luxury coach travel, a night stay at the 4-star Grand Canal Hotel, and premium seats to the iconic show. Spaces are limited, so secure your spot today. Call us now on 074 91 25000 or visit the outlet at highlandradio.com.
You can't beat the sound of a contented cat. That's why veterinary surgeon and natural pet food pioneer John Burns developed Burns Pet Nutrition, because he knows the positive impact a natural diet has on our beloved pets. And our premium cat food is designed to satisfy even the most finicky eaters. For natural, no nasty, wholesome recipes, choose Burns Pet Nutrition. Available from veterinary clinics and all good pet shops across Ireland.
Grab half-price broadband in the Virgin Media Playhouse. For this month only, all our broadband speeds are half price. That's lightning-fast connection from just €35 a month, locked in for 12 months with no activation fee. Why wait? Enjoy speeds from 500 megs to 5 gigs right now. All for half price. Available nationwide. See virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
Subject to location and availability. New customers only, €35 per month for 12 months for 500 meg broadband. Half price on 12-month broadband contracts only and based on after-offer prices for all speeds. Offer ends 2nd of July. T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie.
A public service announcement from Donegal County Council. Donegal County Council are delighted to announce that the Lochfoyle ferry service linking Greencastle and McGilligan and the Swilly ferry service linking Buncrana and Rathmullen will operate a full service from the 30th of May 2025. Both ferries operate 7 days a week. Further information, including timetables and fares, can be found at lochfoyleferry.com or swillyferry.com. Donegal County Council, promoting tourism and supporting our communities.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Right, now, dry for most of today with variable cloud and some sunny spells. Rain and drizzle, though, will spread from the west towards nightfall. Temperatures 16 to 18 degrees. Winds mainly moderate, west to southwest. Fresh for a time, though, in coastal parts. A caller says, morning, Greg, our government... Oh, I read that, didn't I? Fergal Geehan from County Roscommon cycled from Ireland to Australia over a 14-month period recently. He said his favourite people he met along the way were the Iranians. Prayers are needed by one and all that this war doesn't escalate to World War III. I wish they would say 31 died in the Omagh bombing. Avril Monaghan was 7 months pregnant when she was killed, making her unborn twins viable, which makes the figure 31, not 29. I understand. I'm not sure how that terminology was arrived at. You would be very familiar with it being, 29 people died plus, including a woman pregnant with unborn twins. It just seems to be the way everyone phrases. I'm not sure if that's done in association with the families, because you'd have to be most sensitive to her surviving family, if that makes sense. I've always wondered that myself. I was at the game yesterday in McCool Park and bought tickets for the half-time draw. Couldn't hear the numbers called out as the PA system, in my opinion, is, and they don't cut corners here, crap. A big congratulations to Donegal. Very well done. As always, Sean Patton had a fantastic game. Well done to all the other players as well. Delighted for them, of course. The one and only Jim McGuinness. What a manager, says Mary. Brendan Devaney is going to be joining me after 11, so if you have any comments on the game, get in touch. The rally weekend, all in all, was a success, but more is needed for the upkeep of the streets. There's a footpath across from the Church of the Irish Martyrs. You can't walk on the footpath due to briars and nettles. It is a disgrace. The council needs to sort it out. Buncrana looks beautiful and was so proud after winning Best Kept Large Town in the national competition. Congratulations to our lovely town gardener and his team who do tremendous work, and our local Tidy Towns volunteers who work so hard. Thank you, everyone. And I've no reason to say this other than it's the truth. There are a few towns in Donegal, and I think they're all very well kept, don't get me wrong. But there are a few towns in Donegal that as you drive in, it just does hit you as how beautiful and well kept it is. And Buncrana is always one of those for me. So well done to everyone. I've got so much respect for the Tidy Towns people. You know, on the way to work, you see them out and about. And I've said this before, but blummin' hell, I'm going to say it again. They're out and about and they make places that looked like a tip an hour ago look beautiful. They're out doing it for the love of their community, and they are fantastic. The weeds on the centre reservation along the new 4 lanes are at least 3 foot tall. Why plant there in the first place if they weren't committed to keeping it up? Well, I'm not saying I'm a great predictor of the future, but I couldn't understand why you'd put anything in there that needs maintenance. And I said that, be it trees, hedges, soil that might weed, anything at all, because it just compounds you either don't look after it or you reduce everything to 1 lane while you do look after it. So I don't know why that was done. I suppose it's on a piece of paper, it looks nice and pretty, but anyway. Once again, we're deprived of watching the Donegal match. Why do we pay our TV licence? The GEA shouldn't be about profit. It's interesting. GEA Plus had the games. The games may not have been shown otherwise. And you wonder why 400,000 people have a dodgy box in this country. A lot of people using them, I'd imagine, over the weekend.
Don't miss the 33rd annual Finn Valley Show at Russell Brothers Farm, Killygordon on Saturday 28th of June. Enjoy dog, home industries, poultry, sheep, cattle, horse and pony classes. Plus the Fast and Furious Donkey Derby. There's also a show and shine tractor competition judged by Kirsty Ward from Grassmen. With live music from Jason McGahl and Anthony Redstone, trade stands and children's entertainment. It's sure to be a fun-filled day at the Finn Valley Show on Saturday 28th of June. This ad is brought to you by Kieran's Butchers Rafoe, a family-run butcher bringing the finest meats from Donegal farms to your table.
Thank you for attending this meditation session for badgers who forgot to check for gas pipes before digging, without knowing how disruptive it could be. putting others at risk in doing it unknowingly for all their working life. And it could have been avoided had they just checked in the first place. Let's begin.
Always check for gas pipelines before you break ground. Visit gasnetworks.ie/dig for more information.
Celebrating 50 years, McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles in Buncrana continues to be Donegal's go-to destination for stunning bathroom makeovers. With a vast selection of premium tiles and bathroom products, our showroom is your ultimate one-stop shop for crafting the perfect space. We've earned our reputation through expert advice, unbeatable prices and a dedication to customer satisfaction. Visit our showroom in Cockhill and Buncrana and see why we've been Donegal's top choice for 50 years and counting. Call us at 07493 63050.
At iMotors, it's not just about cars, it's about great experiences. Just ask Michelle.
I recently purchased a car with Gavin at iMotors. Very professional, happy to help, and the trade-in was seamless.
If it worked for Michelle, it can work for you too. Browse trusted used cars now at imotors.ie or visit their showroom today in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Everyone in Ireland felt the impact of the pandemic, but each experience was different. Now, Ireland's independent COVID-19 evaluation wants to hear your story. Complete the survey to help us learn lessons and prepare for future events. Visit covid19evaluation.ie.
It's extremely big, it's extremely scary, and it's extremely good fun. Extreme Fun Fair, the most extreme fun fair to ever visit Letterkenny. From June the 28th to July the 13th at the Kiltoy Roundabout. See Facebook, Instagram or book now at extremefunfair.ie.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update, and it's over to Katie Gillen.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A solicitor for families of those killed in the Creasa explosion say they feel a sense of relief following the decision by Board Planala to overturn Donegal County Council's plans for the site. 10 people were killed in the blast in October 2022. In February, permission had been granted to Vivo Shell Limited for the proposed development of a new service station, which would have seen the demolition of the existing building and the creation of space for a memorial garden. This was refused on Friday. Solicitor for the Creasa families, Damien Tansey, says those who lost loved ones are entitled to be involved in the development of a memorial. Emergency services are currently at the scene of a suspected car fire at the top of Lurgy Brack. The incident is causing traffic disruption for motorists travelling on the N13 from Stranraer towards Letterkenny. Motorists are being advised to allow for extended travel times. The High Court in Belfast will later decide on the future of the A5. Since the project was first proposed in 2007, 57 people have died along the road which links Donegal and Monaghan through Tyrone and Derry. Stormont ministers gave the £1.2 billion project, which is set to receive €600 million in backing from the Irish government, the green light in October last year. Landowners along the route have been fighting the case and began judicial review proceedings against the dual carriageway. The case was heard over several days earlier this year and the judgment will be delivered today. The public inquiry into the Omagh bombing is to hear opening statements this morning. It's investigating whether the 1998 real IRA bombing in the County Tyrone town could have been prevented. 29 people died, including the mother of unborn twins. And finally, 4 in 10 people in Donegal are expecting to receive a salary raise this year, according to new research. The FRS Recruitment Employment Insights report also showed that 2 in every 5 people in Donegal believe they could find a new job in 3 months or less. However, 9 in 10 employers in the county are concerned about the current economic outlook, which is ahead of the 72% national average. 6 out of 10 employers in Donegal also acknowledge they have had difficulty securing new talent this year, while 3 in 5 say more employees have been looking to change jobs in the last 12 months. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with another update at 12 o'clock.
Thanks, Katie.
Summer's here! Yay! So it's time to stock up on sun protection at Aldi. There's something for everyone, like Lacora SPF 50 Plus Kids Roll-On at only $3.49. SPF 30 Dry Mist Spray for $3.99. and after sun with soothing aloe vera at just $2.49. All water resistant and dermatologically tested. So spread the word. And the sun cream while stocks last.
All right, Calvin Benson from Buncrana joins us on the programme now. Calvin, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, you were down or over or up, however you describe it, at Zach Bryan at the weekend. For those who may not be aware, why is Zach Bryan so popular?
He's a big American country singer, so he writes his own music.
And you kind of ended up being part of his performance. Tell us how things unfolded.
I got tickets there for the Golden Circle, and me and my friend Ryan and Shane, we were on there, and I went online and ordered a Irish flag and got it personalised, and Ryan and Shane helped me hold the flag up, and I got his eye, and then later on big chant started, and he pointed down to me and took the flag up then.
And it formed part of the show then too. He draped it on his piano, is that right?
Yeah, put it over his piano then for the rest of the show then.
And did you have any notion that might happen? Was the intention to sort of catch his eye, I wonder, Calvin?
That was the plan when I was ordering the flag anyway. I was hoping to catch his eye, but I didn't think it would really happen, to be honest.
And what did it feel like? Your flag up on stage, ole, ole, ole chants around the stadium, and just being such an important part of it.
No, it was unreal. I didn't really think it was going to happen now. It didn't feel real when it was happening at the time now.
All right, brilliant stuff. And was his concert good?
It was unreal. It was definitely the best concert I was at now before.
Good stuff, all right. And any contact from his team since, or is that just the end of it now?
No, just the end of it now since. Anyway, I got the flag back. He threw it back anyway.
All right.
At the end of the concert, the security put it back, so that was good enough as well.
Brilliant. Going to stick it on eBay or hold on to it?
It's all right.
Are you going to stick it on eBay or hold on to it?
I'll definitely hold on to it anyway.
All right. Okay, good man. Thanks for joining us. Fair play to you. That was Calvin Benson. Did you send that to me, Caroline? Do you send that video to me? Let me see. Where is it? If I can. Oh, Shannon did. That would be useful information. Yeah. And there's two videos here. Which one should I use, Shannon? The first one. Okay, let's see. Right. So I'll try and describe it for those of you who can't see it, but maybe we can hear it. I think there was a bad word that had to be taken out. It's not moving. No, it's not moving. The video is not moving, so I can't really see what's going on. We'll try and get back to that anyway. We can see a great image of. The image of the flag and also Zach Bryan. I'm pretty good at music. I listen to all different types of music and stuff. But Zach Bryan's just completely gone over my head, if that makes any sense. I wouldn't have been, too familiar with any of his work, which is a shame on me. But Calvin loves him, and what a fantastic experience for all of them. Let me see. After we met Phil Linnett in Slane Castle, our superintendent told us to patrol the crowd. Sorry, my texting is dreadful. That's a fantastic experience. Thanks very much for that. Surely demand would drop if we removed the licensed driver ride-along requirement. Like, make it so someone on Els who has their 12 lessons done and are essentially ready to test can legally drive on non-highways without a licensed driver on board, as this is the main license incentive right now. Remove this and demand will drop as the incentive to license will move to a drop in costs and the ability to use highways without someone on with you, and with the drop in demand, queues will move faster. I don't know what you reference as highways. It has to be said that learner drivers are overrepresented in fatality and serious collision figures. That's a fact, and I hate to be that guy to point it out. And also, if a highway to use a motorway, you're far more likely or inclined to have a serious stroke fatal collision on a lesser road rather than the highway. Brendan, are you going to come and chat to me, sunshine? He's making himself a cup of tea. It's all right, or is that toast? Sorry, Brendan, I don't want to put you under pressure. How are you getting on?
I was trying to sneak out a wee cup of tea there, but
Well, listen, it's all right. We'll get you. We'll get you on. We'll get you on. Come here. Well done on the comms yesterday. You and Brendan did a great job. Your reflections on the game. By the way, just if you're commenting, commentating, sorry, I should say, have you picked up the game as much as you might if you were on co-coms, so to speak, or that's nothing to do with the game. It's just a you question, really.
Yeah, it's a different world, Greg. Sometimes you can you prepare for them driving along the car and I start semi-commentating for a second. I'm like, cop yourself off. You know what? I think it's the kind of thing you'd need to get into a bit. I felt in the second half you started to get a bit of flow. The game was exciting, and I thought, am I talking too fast here? I was going 100 miles an hour because the game would sped up. But listen, it was just great. Listen, glad he fell in, help Oisin out. As you said, Brendan O'Coin, unreal, brilliant analysis there along with me. And of course, Joe Dex was producing. Kieran Cannon was back in studio. Great to have Kieran back. Listen, everybody loves Kieran on the show there, and he's just such a great guy to deal with. So it was great to have him back on board as well. So, and then the game, particularly second half, it was brilliant to be there. Great atmosphere, and just looking forward so much to the big quarter final now.
Yeah, full house. I mean, obviously Donegal were big favourites going into it, but we've talked in the past about, how sometimes things don't go exactly how we might anticipate. It was squeaky bum time potentially for some in the first half, but even towards the end of the first half, it was Donegal that looked like they could always kick on. Is that how you would have assessed it? And of course, then in the second half, they did.
Yeah, I suppose going 5-1 up, Greg, it was looking like we could take them apart at any time, but in that period as well, we were dominating kickouts. We won their first 3 kickouts, but then when it went to 5-1, then the switch came on the kickout for me as well, in terms of they won their next 4 of chances that we missed between wides, goal chances. We dropped a few short. So we were inviting Louth attacks to us. And as we're seeing now in the modern game, whoever gets possession away, there's a very high opportunity. It's probably in the high 70s that they're actually going to have an opportunity on goal. And when somebody was in the form that Ryan Burns was in that first half, they started to haul themselves back, and you just get the wee feeling, we're off it a wee bit here today. So half-time was going to be huge, and maybe learning's in this, Greg. And it's always important to learn. If you look at Burns' scores, and it's the one issue with that zonal defensive shape that we do, that a player can end up with a free strike, as Burns almost had, particularly in 2 of the occasions. So, listen, that wasn't happening to Sam Mulroy because the brilliant Brendan McCall was right on him everywhere he went. But just sometimes Burns was as dangerous as Mulroy going into this, maybe even more so from play, and we hadn't exactly tagged them. But listen, they're the small learnings. But listen, second half, after only scoring 1-6, we had 116 in the second half to their 5 points. So, in attack and in defence,
what happens in that situation? Metaphorically, is it the hairdryer treatment or tactical changes, or maybe it's just a case, right, lads? We put the foot in the pedal now. Like, what's happening in the space of 2 halves that we see such different games almost within the 70-minute confine?
Yeah, listen, Rick, it's hard to say unless you're in there. And of course, it's such a closed book now in terms of what anybody says about anything in games. And even talking to ex-players from way back, they still seem afraid to talk about stuff that went on, such as the mindset. But I think, Rick, you've probably a couple of things here. I don't think there'll be tearing strips off people. There'll be no sense to that. I think the chances were created, they weren't being converted. You're on about being clinical, so you've got to be cool to be clinical, and you can't be like berating people for that. So I think what you'd have is you'd have a very calm approach tactically, what we're doing, what we're not doing right, and fixing a few things in terms of attack and defence. What you'd have then at the end of it would be a rallying cry. There would be one of them chest-bound things. You say, lads, 35 minutes, we don't up this, we're going out in the championship. We have a date in Croke Park next week. We have an All-Ireland quarter-final sitting there waiting. So I think, not that you'll be tearing strips, but I think there would be a big rally cry about who we are, what we're going to do, and make sure everybody's pumping out. So, as people always say, it's fire in the belly, ice in the head kind of thing. You've got to get that mix right. And I suppose to start the second half, listen, Louth get the first goal. We had a couple of wides, and I think Michael Murphy was just sussing out the breeze. And then when he hit that 2-pointer, it just showed the measure of the man. And I think when you look at that, if you're a forward there and you have a couple of goals, you start to think, God, I can't miss 3. And with Michael, that doesn't even come into it. He just knows, right, I know what happened there in that breeze, and I'm going to put that right. And he hits that monster 2-pointer, and I thought that was a huge moment along with Thompson's goal in the second
that's the
half. I think
difference.
that's what really put Donegal in the position.
And there's a real element of, now, maybe Michael has it, but in terms of sports psychology, you can't have successes without failures. An amateur, they're all amateurs, and I might ask you a question about that, but just someone not in the know would allow, too wide efforts to sort of dictate how the rest of the game might go. But no, it doesn't work like that at the top level. Kerry had a handy enough affair with Cavan. Dublin and Cork competitive, as you would imagine. And Down really rallied and put it up to Galway at times. So Kerry and Donegal, the two most comfortable prelims, you could argue. We know the four that are waiting. I always ask kind of the same question. Heading into the quarterfinals proper now, this is really, really the business end of it. I think Donegal's tails are going to be high, aren't they, if you look at the other four games over the weekend?
Yeah, certainly. Why not? I mean, you're still looking at that 6 teams, and to me, I can't really say any of them's better than any of the rest of them. Maybe our 2 second-half performances there, particularly against Cavan and Louth, you can see the best of what Donegal is. But listen, it was so, I think, against Mayo, and that's, to me, a fairly poor Mayo side that at times, again, we didn't convert maybe the high level that we should. So I guess in all these games, you're looking at your positives and negatives in there and just trying to get your performance up.
Well, if I was a top-class manager, I would say, well, we know now that Donegal come out really strong in the second half, so we'll keep them quiet for the first 15 minutes or something along those lines. We often talk about what we can do or what we might do, but the top-level coaches, they're looking on and wondering, well, how do you solve this? How do you solve this puzzle?
Yeah, well, listen, there's a lot of solving to be done, Rick, particularly when we have the form of Oisín Gallen yesterday coming back in the mix and Conor O'Donnell as well, which means there probably wasn't the same pressure on Michael. But what you're having there is, the ability, say, of Kieran Moore the last day, which we maybe didn't see it as much. Now, what I'm just highlighting in this is that different players are stepping up different games. So if you look at it, Kieran Moore still does his job, for example. So does Patrick Mogan. They do what they need to do and they play well. But they play at such a level in games where it's different players. You look at Finbar Rote's performance yesterday, was unbelievable, superhuman. I mean, the lad now is in running for Player of the Year, a young Player of the Year, such as his form. So Darrell Boyd comes off the bench, Hugh McFadden comes off the bench, and they give unbelievable input into the game and energy. I mean, Hugh was our best player in the second half. So there's so many things there, I think, for the opposition then to try and check, because there's so many things that Donegal have on any given day. So if you try and shut down one or two of them, or one or two of them don't go to that 8.59 level, someone else will. And I think that's the big thing with Donegal.
Yeah. I mean, we're at the point now, whoever wants to be All-Ireland champions, you're going to have to beat the best. That's just the bottom line. But we've drawn Monaghan. Does it matter who we draw? I mean, at the end of the day, we have to win the next 3 games, isn't it? So whether it's Galway, Dublin, it's all about winning. Now, we've won Ulster, we've progressed, we've put ourselves in a position. If we're going to win it, you have to win all 3 games.
And I suppose, if you're just looking at it, because there's so little between the teams, any of the teams in there, I suppose if you're looking at it just from a perspective of, like, mathematically, going to have gone through 3 fairly tight games. We would be going into the Monaghan game as slight favourites. But I think after that, both games, if we were to get over them, the semi-final, the final, it'll be a 50-50 game, because the teams that are left at that point, you couldn't call it between them. So it'll come down to the smallest of margins. But certainly because of the sprinkle of talent that we have around the place, because of our zonal defending, because of Sean Patton, I think that if we can hold teams, I mean, if you look at it, only conceding 12 points yesterday, I mean, that's a crazy score.
In the modern game,
yeah. So listen, if we can hold teams tight, when we break, like you've seen it yesterday at times, the ferocity and the pace, teams can't handle it. So it's a matter of us kind of enforcing our game plan on the other team, and that's the big thing with Donegal, and it always has been. But there's nothing you couldn't say in there, with Kerry, Armagh, Galway, Dublin in particular, Tyrone, you'd still say are going to have. So it's very hard to call these games even at the weekend before we get to semi-finals, because anybody can beat anybody in them. And it's maybe a pity that we drew Monaghan. I think Meath, because we played Monaghan already, I think the Meath game would have been I suppose, more exciting in terms of something new. But listen, it's going to be an all Ulster tie, and it's going to be a bit of a grind again. But listen, this is a difficult one. That Monaghan team's flying at the minute, and listen, they had that 2-point chance to equalise against us in the Ulster Championship quarters. So there's been nothing in it in the last game, and there won't be in this.
Factoring everything in, the old line, players prefer to be playing matches than training. We're not getting any time off. There are 4 teams in there that have had a break. Is it cut and dry as to who that favours?
Yeah, well, listen, the rest definitely is vital at the minute. You see it all around the place, and of course, I suppose the biggest dagger in the heart of life was seeing Michael Murphy getting taken off. That was more or less saying, boys, the show's over.
Yeah.
Listen,
He's off to book his hotel in Dublin.
Yeah, but the Donegal players were being walked around, because I could see Jim was saying, right, get out and get away quick to get recovered. That must have been hard for the Louth players. And of course, they ended up in Sligo before the game, which didn't help things, Greg. So it was a very interesting intro to the game for the Louth boys coming down, but a lot of soul searching for them, because listen, we beat them by 5 in the league last year. We beat them by 8 in the championship to sort of hammer them like the way we did. That's a serious knockback to them. But listen, fair play to your lads. We did our job.
A lot of money being made off the back of these players. They're amateur players. The big convo last year was rule changes. This year, people are being invited to have their say on the amateur status of players. Everything is on the table, apparently, so that could involve maybe the amateur status going. These players that we talk of, these superstars of the game, are volunteers for the GAA. That's what they are. Just a brief one on this, and I'm sure you'll talk about this properly on your show down the line. As a former player, do you welcome that conversation and even the amateur status being on the table?
There was a while back there, you remember the government were giving tax breaks to inter-county players. So listen, you'll have club players in asking questions, but I mean, inter-county is the elite, and they obviously are club players as well. There's a lot asked of them. Ireland's too small for some kind of professionalism. It wouldn't work, Greg, and it couldn't work. And then you would have obviously the uneven nature of counties that are massive like Dublin and can pull in huge money as well. There's only one way something will work like that, and it's like it was before, where maybe players are given some kind of a tax break back because of the amount of millions it's generated off what they do. Surely the government could give inter-county players, and everybody would have to get it, hurling football right across every county. It would have to be the same. Otherwise, you would have unequalness, and you'd have players wanting to go to different counties and that. So there should be something in there for players in terms of some kind of remuneration back for what they're given. But as people always say, they see all the millions. Could players not be paid and go professional? It wouldn't work like that. All the money. So you've seen in COVID, Greg, the GA's coffers emptied, and I think a year, 14 months into the COVID thing, because there's so much that they invest and put back in to the organisation. So there isn't this massive money there.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, in terms of like the Premiership, it's losing that example, licensed to Sky, BT, Amazon, and then licensed all around the world, Hong Kong, whatever. There's a very small pool of resources here. Also, of course, you'll be discussing that on the show. Despite a great performance from Jodie McFadden and others, the Donegal ladies missed out in the quarter-final, going down to Tipperary 11 points to 1-6. Reflecting on that as well, I'm sure, in the company of Brendan Kilcoyne, your new best friend, Cahir O'Kane, a columnist with the Irish News, a top mind in the world of sport, of course, Keevan Riley, Louth GA correspondent. It's all go on the DL debate tonight from 7 p.m, just after the 7 p.m. news, and then available to listen at your leisure as a podcast. Brendan, and lots of people actually messaging you, by the way. Don't be self-critical. That's enough people to do that, saying that you did a great job on the commentary yesterday, by the way, just for yourself.
Well, no problem. Listen, I was just calling in for the big guy. Oisín will be back. The proper commentator will be back next week. He'll be flanked by me and Brendan. We're there to help out. So listen, was glad to step in for him. And sure, like anything, Greg, as Arnold Schwarzenegger says, be useful.
And he also says, I'll be back next Monday, just after 11. Take care, Brendan. Brendan Devaney there. Nobody's mentioned how good the ref was yesterday. Referees never get the recognition they deserve. Well, I think referees are like eyebrows. You shouldn't notice them. And if you don't notice them, then, they're doing a good job. Morning, Greg. Brendan done great yesterday. Well done, Donegal from Audrey. Supporters' groans could be heard when goals were missed and so many ball dropping short into the goalie's arms. But there was a nasty cross-wind there. Even Devaney at his best would find it difficult. Morning, Greg. It's great if GEA Plus can show the game and no issue at all paying the fee if the service is worth buying. Terrible yesterday is constantly stopping and buffering, and when it did come back on, it was a different scoreline. The server is not fit for purpose, they claim. And I'm in the west of the county and just want to know if all parts of Donegal had the same issues. I had no buffering or freezing, it has to be said. €12 to watch the GEA match at the weekend. Disgraceful, says a listener. And another, read the sound system in McCool's yesterday. The winning numbers announced in the GEA game in Ballabafay were 936. I think we've missed commas here. I don't think mine, maybe it was 936, but anyway. County Roscommon women claimed both prizes. If you want those numbers, we can ring that texter back and get them. Right, okay, that's that, and that is that. I think we're all up to date in terms of the GEA and the comments there. So what I'll do is take a break as we await our next guests joining us.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Get grilling with the Sahara Gas Barbecue from Sprat Fireplaces, New Mills, Letterkenny. Perfect for Irish summers with quick ignition, even heat, and loaded with features. From steaks to burgers, Sahara Barbecues handle it all. Fire up your summer today. See spratfireplaces.ie or call 912444. Sprat Fireplaces, your barbecue destination.
Make real summer savings at Super Value. Like Super Value Signature Taste Fresh Irish Hampshire Pork Loin, half price. Fresh fruit and veg like lemon and lime net, 3-piece, 79 cents each. Our summer rosé event is now on in store. And scan your Real Rewards card or app and get Coca Noodles 10-pack for €5. Make real summer savings at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Planning a trip between Donegal and Glasgow this summer. Great news, Loganair is adding more flights. Fly Wednesdays from June 18th and Saturdays from July 5th. Enjoy more choice for your summer travel, plus a free 15kg bag. Book now at loganair.co.uk. Terms and conditions apply.
Is your couch older than your Spotify playlist? Is your dining table wobblier than your uncle at a wedding? If so, it's time for an upgrade at Grove Furnishings, Kiltoy Road, Letterkenny, the largest furniture store in the Northwest. From stylish sofas to elegant beds, from floor covering to occasional pieces, we've got you covered. And we offer free delivery within 80 kilometres. Grove Furnishings. Seriously good furniture.
A water conservation order continues to be in place in the Milford area until August 4th to safeguard the water supply for essential purposes. This order follows many months of dry weather, putting the water source under stress. Please do not use a hosepipe or sprinkler and conserve water wherever you can. Together, we can safeguard our water resources. Learn more at water.ie/WCO. Ishka Erin, delivering water services for Ireland.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It's just turning 26 minutes past 11. Now, on this morning's Monday's Focus, we look at the ancient practice of yoga. Originating in India, it has transcended borders and become a global phenomenon, celebrated annually as International Yoga Day. And the day serves as a powerful reminder of yoga's profound benefits for physical, mental and spiritual well-being. It's a day when millions unite, breathing in unison, stretching towards a healthier, more harmonious existence and reaffirming India's timeless gift to humanity. Joining us in studio, Sharmila Kamat and Sai Sankar. Good morning, both of you. Thank you very much for your time.
Morning, Greg.
Good morning.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I felt peaceful just reading out the introduction. I was like, wow, I could nod off here. I'm going to lean over and just rotate this slightly. You stay right where you are. Now, a world record was broken actually in the last 12 hours. 300,000 plus people all doing yoga at the same time. Remarkable stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Because the International Yoga Day was proposed by the Indian government to the United Nations, and that's how it started 11 years ago. So it's very popular and it's very popular back in India. So whenever the International Yoga Day comes, it's celebrated in various parts, and the Prime Minister goes to different parts of the country. And this year he was in Vizag.
Yeah.
And I think there was Visakhapatnam, and there was a big gathering.
It's about
there.
300,000 people joined.
Remarkable, wasn't it?
It's made a Guinness World Record with so many meters of road
where they did the yoga.
Yeah.
It's practiced all over the world, around 191 countries. And we have events here also in Ireland, in different schools and different places. We are particularly having it on the 28th because of the rally weekend. We thought we'll have it a week later.
Imagine you trying to do your poses. Shamila,
yes.
In terms of the yoga that we might be familiar with, and also to sort of the traditional Indian yoga, are they the same, or is there sort of like or maybe Sai, if you want to take that one, are they the same? Are we loyal to the Indian tradition of yoga?
Yeah, if you go back to the Indian mythology, they say Shiva was the first yogi who imparted his knowledge to the humanity, right? And that's timeless. You don't know when it started, but the documented script of yoga is called the Yoga Sutra. It was done by Patanjali. It was like almost 2,000 years ago, right? And his yoga is called Ashtanga Yoga. Ashta means 8, right? 8 limbs of yoga. Right, it's called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. Right, these are the 8 wings of yoga. That's why it's called Ashtanga Yoga. There are some branches of yoga that we see nowadays, something called Hatha Yoga, or there are other types of yoga which are customized for the masses. And even for the International Yoga Day, out of this 8 limbs of yoga, you're going to practice yoga like asana. Asana, which means postures, right?
Because the reason I ask is because we have we're fed a sort of safe, just to make the food analogies, you know what I mean, what we would perceive as being Indian food or Chinese food, but it can be very far removed from the various regions of India or China and the variations. So I was just curious if it's like a whisper that has changed over time and reached our shores. Sharmila, what are the physical and mental benefits of yoga, and are they equal, or is it more beneficial in one area?
I would say yoga specifically is like it's for the body, and meditation, what we call pranayama, is mainly for the mind.
Yes.
But if you have a healthy body, the mind will work better. Same with the mind. If the mind is good, your body is going to work better. It works, I think, together. But you need to have a healthy body. I think everybody needs to have an active life, and I think yoga is only a part of it. The asanas could be made as strict as you want them. Unless you have a teacher, you cannot follow it to 100%. But if you're doing it on your own, you don't know whether you're doing it 100% correct, stretching the right things like I do online every day, and it helps me. But it keeps me active. Whatever I would not have been able to do a few years ago, I'm able to do it now. It keeps my body flexible, makes it more active, and that's why I can, move around faster maybe, and I can walk more. It's good. It's good for the body, and for the mind. I do some meditation. I could do with more, but it is a practice.
Yeah.
And it's a way of life that you need to follow. And it's like brushing your teeth. If you do it every day, possibly, it's going to help you no matter what.
A personal trainer told me, just in passing, that if I were to start exercising now, it's not to be running marathons or ultra fit at my age. It would actually to be preparing myself for good health in later age.
Right. That's right.
So I would be, my core's poor. Right, my back then plays up a little bit, and I've been told my hips are a little bit tight, and I should be stretching and stuff. I'm a perfect candidate for yoga, aren't I?
Yes.
Anybody is a perfect candidate for
I'm
yoga.
a perfect candidate.
You are. You are one of.
No, but I'm kind of typical. But go ahead. Sorry, you're quite right.
Yeah, and anybody can do yoga at different levels. And again, I'm not a yoga expert or anything, so that's why we are bringing in a person. His name is Suksham. He's coming from Belfast all the way to from Belfast. He's practicing a type of yoga administered by Art of Living. It's a group which practices yoga. He's coming all the way from Belfast next Saturday to do this, and he would be an expert. He would be able to tell who can do what level of yoga. And but in general, yoga is for everybody. At different levels.
All ages. Like
all ages.
Like kids can do it. Adults. Like my mom, who is 87. she is doing it.
That's a remarkable.
You know?
But I presume since you started, Sharmila, you adjust what you do. You can intensify. You can
Yes.
stretch a bit
Yes.
further.
Yes.
You know, so there is progression in it
Yeah.
as well, isn't it?
And,
It's
and
about
you get better with
Yeah.
time. The more you do it, every day you do it, you get stronger, your muscles. And you know, when he is teaching also, like when he's telling you, he tells you not to push yourself too much.
Yes.
That it hurts.
Yeah.
You know, so you do what you think is okay for you. And maybe the next day you get better. You know, so all that works. All that works for you, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose too, it's like any exercise that you might do. If you overdo it to begin with, you give up. Or
Yes.
you know, so the
Exactly,
idea
yeah.
is you have to have a little bit of patience, don't
Absolutely.
you? Yeah.
A
Okay.
lot of people started during COVID time and they followed it and they kept it going. And, you know, it doesn't matter what age you start. It is keeping yourself moving. I think the body, if you keep it flexible, definitely later on in your life, it definitely helps you, you know.
So, do you see it as religion specific?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
No, it's
because I do
not.
remember a few years ago, people almost thinking like if you were a Christian, you were celebrating a different religion. But I think we've moved past that now, haven't we?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yoga is when you practice yoga, you're not practicing any religious practices.
No.
It's just your mind, body, and spirit, right?
The way I'd look at it is, to be honest with you, it's like praying stroke meditation, or because for some people the art of praying, whatever religion they are, that's their mindfulness. But for people who without a religion, there's all the tools, but they're all doing the same thing. It's just they're doing it for themselves and what fits in with their belief system. Or
Absolutely, it's about how you perceive it, right? It's end of the day, it's the same thing you're practicing. Yeah.
It's only the asanas are given a specific Sanskrit kind of name. That's all there is. But then they have an English version telling you what exactly it is, like a cat posture or a dog or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
So so people can understand it better.
so,
You
if
know,
you're getting stressed in the day, do you go, I'm going for a yoga? Do you?
No,
No, or do
no,
you?
it
do,
could help.
Or do you do it in your mornings?
could.
Or
I do it in the morning.
Yeah, that's
when
your-
I get
sets
up in
you
the
up for the
morning.
day.
Yes,
Make the
it
bed.
sets me for the day.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
set me for the day.
Another limb of yoga is pranayama. That really helps. I practice it in the office.
what is that? Tell us a little bit more. sorry.
Pranayama is breathing exercise.
Yes,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
called pranayama.
Yeah.
It's one of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga. And when you're nervous or your heartbeat is racing, you want to calm yourself down. That's the best way. I have
Yeah,
practiced
because
it myself.
if you're panicking, if you're scared, or if you're anxious or whatever, your breathing's all up here. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
in the top of your chest. So anything, I suppose, that helps to.
The breathing techniques definitely help. Like you have this box breathing where you breathe in, hold your breath, hold it for a while, breathe out, hold your breath. Box breathing. There are different types, and you learn the different
But
types. when you learn.
fundamentally, you're training
definitely.
yourself. Your discipline.
Yeah.
It's-
Even if you're not being able to sleep, if you do those kind of breathing, methods, it might help you go to sleep or maybe sleep better.
Yeah, because we're very quick sometimes to sort of seek medical intervention on things, and it's always there's a fantastic place for that, and we're blessed with the advances that we've made. But there are ways, simple ways, that you can try first
you can
in
try
the first
these
instance,
things,
or
instead of-
in collaboration with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be proactive and start doing it so you maintain your health instead of going to the doctor after you've found something wrong with you.
So, do you see this sort of as a taster session? I presume there's lots of people that would be delighted to have someone very expert coming to Letterkenny, right?
Yeah.
So you'll have already people attending, but the Indian Community Centre Letterkenny, it's an open invite, isn't it,
Yes.
for International Yoga Day celebration with the Embassy of the Dublin, the Embassy of India in Dublin, should I say? And it's coming up this Saturday, Sharmila.
Yes, and they need to register, so we have an idea
You
how
have
many.
to know the numbers.
Yeah, you have to know the number. It's in the Vestry Hall because we couldn't have it in our own community center because of space constraints.
Okay.
It's a small place, and we want more people to come, join in. It's a multicultural thing. We would love more people from different communities to join in. Just get a taste of what it's about, and maybe in future, if we have yoga classes, then they can join in. At least they know what it's about.
10:30 a.m. to noon. That's on Saturday, the 28th of June, which is next Saturday,
Yeah.
at the Vestry Hall, Letterkenny. It's free to enter, but how might one register so that you do get an idea of numbers?
We have a link where people can go and
We'll
register
share that.
themselves.
Okay, we'll share that. It's the easiest way to
We
do
have a
it.
QR code as well. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
there's a QR code in the poster that we have published,
Okay.
and people can scan it and register themselves.
Very good. And again, it is also about unity, right?
is.
And cultural harmony. And I think that's why you've come up to sort of say, this is not just for the Indian community here, it's for everybody.
Absolutely.
And do you find, Sai, that, this is one of those, sometimes people don't know what to do, right? So do you think yoga is, and I think you mentioned online yoga, Sharmila, but do you think Sai Yoga is an activity that you can learn the basics and then repeat them and then improve? And do you know what I mean? Because sometimes we don't do things because we think it's too blum and complicated.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. When you need a guru or you need a teacher for any art to learn, right? So the International Yoga Day, like of these type of gatherings, are going to help you learn or try it out and learn the basics, and then you can get help from any teachers, any experts who can help you.
And is your 87-year-old mother going to be there, Sharmila?
My mom is in India, but she does it all the time. Like,
That's the online classes you do. Mom, show me what to do next.
But it's a discipline, and it's a timetable. Like, her mind is geared that she's going to do it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and
part of her life,
it's
yeah.
great.
Okay.
I mean, it keeps her flexible and moving.
Lovely stuff. Okay, we're going to link how you can register. It's the Indian Community Centre, Letterkenny, welcoming you to International Yoga Day. It's at the Vestry Hall, Letterkenny, 10:30 a.m. to 12 noon next Saturday. Check out our socials. We'll put a link up. Sharmila Kamat, thank you very much indeed for
Thank
calling
you
up.
so
Sai Sankar of the Indian Community Centre, both of you. Have a lovely yoga fun day next
Thank
Saturday.
you. We look forward to seeing you there.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join myself and Jimmy Stafford this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, we welcome from Belfast singer-songwriter Niall Teague and Padraig Joyce, better known as Teague and Joyce. We also give a big hello and welcome to Ballyshannon singer and performer Kieran Hodgkins. And we'll also be bringing you some of the latest new releases from around the Northwest and the rest of the country. So that's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. As always, right here on Highland Radio.
This summer, the Big Top is calling. Summer Sessions Letterkenny presents The Human League, live on August the 21st for one unmissable night. Plus special guests including Nick Kershaw and The Undertones. And it's your last chance to grab the final tickets at summer-sessions.ie. Also rocking the Summer Sessions stage, the Saw Doctors with special guests. That's The Human League, August the 21st in Letterkenny, under the Big Top. Follow Summer Sessions Letterkenny on social media for all the latest updates.
If you're getting married in 2025, BizPrint can take care of all your printing needs. Not just invitations, but save the date cards, order of service booklets, table plans, and so much more. See what's available at weddinginvites.ie or call BizPrint on 9177955.
Instead of lying on the beach all summer, Lucy's spending every weekend watching children's football matches. But while other parents are screaming, advice, Lucy's dreaming about the barbecue waiting for her at home, full of delicious burger goodness from Aldi. Butcher's Selection Irish lean beef burgers, topped with specially selected burger slaw, all served on a toasted brioche bun. Because parents need a post-match meal too. Good food, good mood from Aldi.
The moment you got told the good news.
Rob, you made the panel.
When the lads added you into the group. Skipping nights out, missing the crack. Rewatching classics and learning new tricks. Being driven to the biggest game of your life by your mam. And then you finally come on in the 51st minute. It's the minor moments that last a lifetime. The Electric Ireland GAA Minor Championships. This is major.
Don't miss the 33rd annual Finn Valley Show at Russell Brothers Farm, Killygordon on Saturday 28th of June. Enjoy dog, home industries, poultry, sheep, cattle, horse and pony classes. Plus the Fast and Furious Donkey Derby. There's also a show and shine tractor competition judged by Kirsty Ward from Grassmen. With live music from Jason McGahill and Anthony Redstone, trade stands and children's entertainment. It's sure to be a fun-filled day at the Finn Valley Show on Saturday 28th of June. This ad is brought to you by Kieran's Butchers, Rafo. A family-run butcher bringing the finest meats from Donegal farms to your table.
This summer, fuel up for your holiday adventures with Certa and Adon the Little Dragon. Every time you fill up at a Certa forecourt or depot, you could win great weekly prizes, from fuel vouchers to your very own Adon Teddy. And you may also be in with a chance to win a luxury family break at Fota Island Resort, worth €2,000. So don't miss out. Fuel up for your summer adventures at Certa. For details and T's and C's, visit certaireland.ie/summer.
At Warehouse Bar and Kitchen, Main Street, Letterkenny, you'll find mouth-watering food and drinks served 7 days a week. Great deals with Tuesday burger night, Thursday steak night, Fizzy Friday and weekend brunch. There's live music every weekend and the perfect spot for your private parties. Follow Warehouse Bar and Kitchen on social media for specials and updates.
Meet the refreshed Volvo XC60 Hybrid, an electric SUV with a backup plan. Its electric range of up to 80 kilometers means you can do the daily commute emission-free. Then switch to the petrol engine for those weekend road trips without limits. Book your test drive at volvocars.ie and be the first to experience the refreshed XC60. Or explore all the other fully electric and plug-in hybrid cars available at McGinley Motors. Volvo Cars for life.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for Mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Right, now the weather forecast is going to be dry for much of today. Cloud and some sunny spells. Rain and drizzle will spread from the west towards nightfall. Temperature 16 to 18 degrees. And trust me, this isn't a repeat, but for the third year in a row, we have in studio with us Callum Devine and Noel O'Sullivan, along with our own Oisín Kelly. Callum, Noel, congratulations, guys. Well done to you.
Thank you very much.
How was it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, really, really good rally. Tough, challenging. But yeah, a great result in the end.
You've done it 3 times in a row, so you have the knack now of winning this rally. So what are the variables that have to go right to make sure you know what your knowledge and your skills work? Is it prep? Is it the car? Is it just a bit of luck on reliability or good manufacturing as well, of course, just in case Skoda are listening? What are the difference makers that means you can do it 3 years in a row?
Pretty much all them things you just mentioned. Yeah, the preparation before the rallies is key. There's a lot of work goes on behind it. I have a team behind me too that preps the car, and a team of guys that make sure everything's sorted. Dermot and Adam and my dad and everybody, and yeah, a lot of work goes on behind it. The car and me and Noel as well. We do a lot of prep, getting as much information from the stages, so we're ready to hit the ground running and stuff. So yeah, a lot goes into it, and then the car too has to be performing.
Yeah.
And a wee bit of luck as well on the weekend.
And the margins for error are so small. I mean, you must be absolutely exhausted, both of you, having to be locked in, because there's a physical element of it, but the mental toll, it's huge. Like,
yeah, very. To be honest, I was out last night there now, and I had to call it a day because the energy levels was.
Well, I'm delighted you did, to be honest with you, because last year your eyes were glossy. Today they're clear as a whistle.
He's a married man now as well, Greg. You say?
He's
a married man as well.
Are you in bed yet? It was something along them lines, all right. So, but no, it was very demanding, especially with the heat there on Friday and Saturday, and the cars. I don't know what they're reaching, all about 40 degrees more.
Yeah,
like.
inside in the car to be 40 degrees. Yeah,
and it's the heat, and there's no aircon on the cars, so the faster we go, the more air comes in.
Yeah.
But when you're stuck in traffic, yeah, it gets very warm. So, no, look, it's very demanding, grueling. But yeah, we do keep ourselves physically fit too as well.
You have to, don't you? It's like all sports now. The fitness side of it's huge. Noel, in terms of how the course was set up, or how your car interacted with it over the last 3 years. In terms of sort of difficulty and challenge, where does the weekend rank?
Yeah, look, Donegal is the one that everyone wants. Look, this year the route was maybe 90% similar to last year. They're out in Malin on Friday. Out in Malin, it's one of my favourite out there, going out to those stages. They're iconic roads, I suppose, and we grew up watching this rally, and yeah, to win it 3 times is pretty special.
And you join such an amazing group of people: Cathal Curley, Billy Coleman, Andrew Nesbitt, and the late Manus Kelly, who very sadly, it's 6 years since Manus's passing. I mean, what an amazing team of drivers to be joining there, Noel.
I know, yeah. It's an iconic list when you're listing them out there. But look, I suppose we don't kind of rest on our laurels or look back at records when you're in the middle of it. We're just looking ahead, and we're in a championship at the moment now, so it's kind of all systems go to championship and just tick off the rallies one rally at a time.
Yeah. Osh,
morning, Greg.
You'd have got some odds, wouldn't you, on the same 3 teams finishing in the same positions at the top?
You would have done, Greg, but you have to look at the magnitude of this result, because this was probably, and Noel has referred to it a couple of times already, probably Callum's best performance in the car here in Donegal, because this year was different in a way that we had European contenders. A little bit better there.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we had European contenders who were here. So John Armstrong competes on the European stage. Hayden Padden came the whole way from New Zealand, and as a 2-time European
How did he get on?
European champion. He bowed out on Saturday. So he did. And William Creighton's leading the British Rally Championship, and he was part of, they were chasing Callum down on Saturday. So that's just an example of 3 very high quality drivers that were here to try to win Donegal. And at the end of it all, it's these 2 boys here beside us that were on the top step and the podium. So to achieve the result in the manner that they did, and the pressure that those guys were trying to put on them on Saturday, made it even more impressive. And it's not an easy thing to do, to win 3 Donegals in a row. Because them boys came for a few of them for the first time, or were tackling it, and they know how difficult it is to win it. These guys have done it 3, and they don't, as Noel said, they don't look at records at the minute, but when you go on a wee bit in your career and you start to reflect back, how massive a period this is for these 2 men, because we spoke about it last night. Like, the 2 biggest rallies in the country, Donegal's top of the pile. Next in line is Kerry. And these 2 boys have dominated it for the last 3 and 4 years. They've won Kerry 4 in a row. So they have, and they've won Donegal now 3 in a row. Nobody's ever achieved that before, Greg. And it's only when you do go a wee bit down the line in your career that you have time to reflect that. If it was put it to these boys now, they'll be going, "Oh, we have a championship now to sort out this year." But in terms of rallying, where it's at, this is huge. So it is.
Just to mention too, I got more of an insight in it this year than in previous years. The level of organisation in ensuring the roads are clear and safe for the guys too. The amount of volunteers, because there's so many miles and kilometres to cover, it's really quite remarkable how well organised the back end is, that we don't see necessarily, but it's astonishing.
It's headed up by Eamon McGee, who's the clerk of the course, but he's a massive team underneath him. So there was, and there's like 2,000 volunteers, be they from locally or they come the whole way from Kerry every year. No one comes to compete, but there's men that come that stand in ditches and put on the yellow vests and marshal at the weekend and help out with various events. And without those people here and from further afield that come in, you wouldn't be able to run the event of the size of what the Walton Recycling Donegal International Rally is. And it was a fantastic weekend. Everything ran so smoothly. I was actually speaking to the guy that won the modified, Aaron McIntyre's his name. He's from County Cavan, and he made the point that they run a bit further down the field, but they were able to race in every single stage this year. So every single stage was run.
Yeah.
They were able to complete it, which speaks volumes for, again, the organisers and the way things are and how the rally was being run, because these boys get to run most of them anyway because they're at the front of the field. But it was a hugely successful weekend, yet again, for the Donegal International Rally and for the people who are behind it.
Callum, what motivates you? I mean, obviously, if you won 4 in a row, you've won another 3 in a row. Obviously, this overall championship, but because you have to be at the top end of a sport, it's like fractions of percentages, right? That's the difference between who wins and who doesn't win. What drives you? Is it a competitive nature? Is it records? Is it bettering people that you followed? I mean, how can you stay so switched on, having won the same event multiple times now?
I think it's just probably a more competitive nature I have. I always wanted to better myself. I always want to push on and try and get performance out of myself. I think when I seen these guys coming, the European guys coming to this event,
This is my backyard.
Yeah, it kind of pushes me on a bit. I think it kind of showed that in the times compared to last year. We were a lot quicker on the stages this year than we were last year. Our pace just jumped up again. So, look, you keep want to race the quickest boys to push you on and see what you're capable of all the time.
And what's the story? Like, you're in the Skoda Fabia RS Rally 2 at the moment. What's the lifespan of that car? Not the actual car itself, but you racing in that vehicle. Is that a tie-in with Skoda, or is it just the car that you like? Just for those who aren't sort of big up in rallying, what's the relationship with you in that car, and how long will you stay in that one vehicle?
Well, it's pretty good at the moment. We got the car for the week of Donegal last year. Went well, and we've been on the car now a year, and it's been good. Most of the cars at the front of the field are kind of nearly all the same power, same braking, sort of all that, but just different manufacturers and different chassis shapes. So we drive a Skoda. The guys in second were in a Toyota. The guys in third were in a Volkswagen Polo that I used to have. And John Armstrong is a Fiesta, and Hayden Padham is a Hyundai. Now, loads of manufacturers shown at the front end, different car brands, which is fantastic. Not often it happens. And look, I like the Skoda. Just wee things that I like about it. And it's working well so far.
It just has to feel like an extension of you, presumably.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of your contact with the grounds and all that kind of stuff. And Noel, in terms of your motivation, because, I mean, obviously, Callum's behind the wheel, but your role is he couldn't do it without you. How do you sort of motivate yourself, focus yourself for these events?
I guess I grew up watching these rallies, so I get the chance to compete at the front end. Coming to Donegal and running number one on the road is pretty special. It's an honour. So I guess every year I come up, you want to win, and it might be a bit of greed, but the more you win, the more you want. And,
well, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a special feeling winning these rallies, and it's a credit to Callum. A lot of guys came here this weekend. They all came hunting him down. They all came knocking on the door, but he never flinched all weekend, and he drove a superb rally, and it's a credit to him.
And Callum, just a word on Noel and the importance, I suppose, of your sort of relationship connection, if you know what I mean, because you're so reliant on what he's doing there as well.
Yeah, exactly. I would, to be honest, I could not do what Noel's does in the car. That's not my end. And
could you do what he does, Noel?
I might do that.
No, definitely say.
I don't want the band to break up. Sorry,
but no, look, Noel's fantastic what he does. He was proven long before I came about, and once he sat with me in Killarney 4 years ago for the first time. We just took off on a winning streak, I think it proves itself how good he is in the car with me and what he brings out. And
I think it's just the two of you and the right car, and you're blooming unstoppable, isn't that it, Osh?
Listen, they're fantastic, so they are. And again, it's back to the point we made earlier that the way they managed the rally this weekend and the pace that they were on, and the guys, the way they hunted them down, something had to give, and it wasn't Callum that gave. He just focused on what he was doing and was getting to the end of Saturday and just see what the rest do after that. And the pace was that hot that something had to give, and in the space of 30 kilometres, two of the big names had gone. It was fantastic having somebody like Hayden Padden here to advertise the rally in all its glory, and having Hayden here. Like, he wants to come back. He's unfinished business now, so he has with Donegal, and it would be great to have him back again. But it made for such a fascinating race. And like 4 years ago, Noel stepped in with Callum, and they've been unstoppable since. And listen, nobody's ever won 4 in a row in Donegal, so they haven't. Greg, it's never been achieved before.
Well, let's not do the commentator's curse on it. Like, we're just, the tires are still warm on this year's.
It's something that'll be talked about leading into next year. So.
Well, that's it.
But they have to savour this, because even last night at the prize giving, the first thing I asked Callum was, has it sunk in yet? And it takes a few days. He'll probably have to wait till he gets back into the digger someday that it's going to hit him what he actually has achieved here.
Yeah.
So he has.
But history beckons next year, Callum.
Yeah, it does. But I think we're quite level-headed on it. We'll just take one rally at a time, and like we did this weekend, we took one stage at a time, and just as Oisin says, we just get Saturday over us, and then we get to Sunday. So we'll just have to take it like that. But yeah, it would have been fantastic if we could, but we'll definitely be here to try it.
Fantastic. Callum Devine, Noel Sullivan, both of you. Noel O'Sullivan, I beg your pardon. Both of you, congratulations.
He's a long trip home now. He's to go to Kerry.
Well, are you going today?
Yeah, straight away.
Oh, well. Listen, thanks. So at least you packed it in early last night. So it's going to be a little bit.
we learned from last year. We learned from last year.
Yeah, exactly. You're learning every year, aren't you?
We'll book in. I won't say it.
All right, okay. Come here, brilliant stuff. And well done to you and Chris and all of the crew over the weekend, balancing the rally and the GEA and everything that you did. And well done to the organisers. We're reflecting on a really positive event.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not that long ago we were talking about the future of the rally, and now it just seems to be back up where it belongs as a massive on a massive positive high, which is great.
Thanks, sorry, just Greg. We would like to thank the organising crew and indeed all the crews and all the competitors, because they make our job easy when we're out there trying to do our broadcast.
Camera and a microphone now as well.
Yeah, and they'll all enjoy the next couple of days, because I'm sure Rally Monday's in full swing already, as they call it. So,
okay, well, I know nothing about that because I'm a good Catholic boy.
Yeah.
Oisin Kelly, thanks very much indeed. Callum Devine, well done. Noel O'Sullivan, safe journey back to Kerry. Thanks for coming in each morning. It's really important to us, and it's 3 in a row now. Let's do 4. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning.